Okie dokie. I'm back from the wedding and ready for more streaming. Let's get back on it. We've got our two companions here with us today and our Extinction HQ box for good luck. All right, we're going to be doing some more strike implementation on these debates. So I've been wondering to myself if perhaps the three-strike system is too unfair, right? Maybe they need more than three chances to debate honestly. So we might up it to 5 strikes for dodging the questions today. Give them even more chances to, well, hopefully do the right thing, and if not, embarrass themselves. Hello, Ava. Hello, We Question Things. Hello, Tough. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. If you know anybody that might want to debate, feel free to join them in or share the stream. We're going to be going for at least a couple hours and hoping to get some really good debates going. What do you think about Jake Whittleton? I don't know him, but yeah, he's welcome to join. Accelerationism? No. So extinctionism is very different to accelerationism. Extinctionism is about compassion, empathy, morality, ethics, and essentially not accepting suffering, right? Caring if anybody suffers and enforcing a zero tolerance policy on extreme suffering. So actually enforcing morality. So whereas most people right now are actually immoral or amoral, extinctionists are moral people. So, the difference between extinctionists and non-extinctionists is that, well, one of the main differences is that we don't accept cruelty, we don't allow it, we don't exploit it. So if somebody's being tortured, we wouldn't say, oh, not my problem, he probably deserves it. We would actually say, okay, suffering is going on, we should try and stop it, basically. Do I have a job? No, actually. But I do make some money off of TikTok. And if I were able to make even more money off of TikTok, then I'd be able to start doing it a bit more properly, a bit more as a serious thing, spend more time on it. Welcome, Shah. How you doing? How old am I? I'm 32. Anyway, let's, still hoping to get some more people in, looking for debates. So we'll be waiting on that. And let's see if we can get this a bit bigger. There we go. So yeah, the thing is that most people don't realize that suffering shouldn't be allowed, right? Most people don't realize that it's actually wrong to allow people and animals to go through lives of hell. So whereas you would think that people have some sort of basic morality, actually they don't, right? It's very easy to think that we live in some sort of good world, but we don't. Hello, how you doing?
Howdy. I find your position intriguing, but I don't understand, or I don't agree with the sort of slipped in premise that any suffering is suffering worth eliminating, or perhaps maybe something like any suffering outweighs good things that might happen, something like that. I don't know if I agree with that.
The thing is that unless you're going to ban all suffering, then you're going to get horrific suffering as well. So you have to have a zero tolerance policy on it. You can't just say, oh yeah, a little bit of abuse, a little bit of cruelty, that's okay, and just hope that it will never go beyond that. That's just not a responsible way to deal with safety.
I think that's cohesive in a way. I just don't think, I think somehow there's a premise in there I still don't agree with. If I were to go work out, right? Obviously there's some level.
But again, we're not talking about that type of suffering, right? So, if we're going to ban child abuse, right? You might as well be saying, well, what if I go out for an hour and see a friend? Is that child abuse? Okay, but that doesn't mean that we should allow child abuse, right? Just because you did something that's not that bad, right? We have to ban all of it. And you can't say, oh, well, what about going to the gym and suffering, right? But you don't realize it, but you're advocating to allow child abuse and all of the other types of suffering on that weak basis, right? You're using a poor example of suffering to justify all of the other worse types of suffering.
Correct. I think that's true.
So you don't see that as a problem?
I don't think I do yet. No.
So you think talking about how the gym is good suffering, you think that's a cohesive argument for allowing child abuse?
So obviously, I do not support child abuse. Obviously, I would support someone's choice to go to the gym. So there's some sort of disconnect there, right?
Right, but we're not talking about the gym, right? You're straw manning, basically.
Okay, no, I'm sorry. Well, sort of, except you're saying all suffering, right? So, like, that would still be included in that umbrella.
Okay, so, but the thing is, it's like, we're here talking about, extreme cruelty, abuse, lives of pure hell, and you want to justify all of them because you don't suffer that badly at the gym. And you actually think that's an intelligent thing to say.
I see. Okay, so... So is there any solution? You're saying the only solution to eliminate the horrific types of suffering that we both agree exist is to eliminate all existence altogether.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess my next question would be like, I have to be careful how I word this. Like, would you not eliminate your own existence first? Would that not be a primary objective? Or do you think maybe you can...
No, we should help those who can't help themselves first.
Okay. So, like, someone who maybe was on a deathbed and being kept alive might be an easiest example.
So the thing is, unless we do a total and permanent extinction,
right,
then suffering will continue, right? So that's the only way to actually help the victims properly.
Sure. And so, like, what if there was someone who was okay with the abuse that existed because they enjoyed the life that they have? Would that just be a selfish position then?
Well, more of an animalistic position, but you can call it selfish, yeah. But the thing is, just because somebody wants to live doesn't mean that they should be allowed to when they pose a danger to others and themselves, right? If you make total extinction optional, people will cause others to suffer. They'll end up suffering themselves, and they'll also end up reproducing and causing extreme suffering to carry on forever. So you can't make extinction optional, otherwise it ends up allowing suffering.
And there's no non-contradictory position that you believe can be held where one can strive to eliminate suffering without eliminating existence. You think that those are synonymous?
The thing is that the suffering caused by life is the ultimate hypocrisy, basically, right? We make murder illegal, we make terrorism illegal, etc., etc. But if life causes the harm, then it's okay. Right, so that doesn't make sense, right? Somebody being, chopped up by a murderer, that's not worse than somebody being born with chronic pain, right?
Right. No, they both are somewhat equal suffering in the subject, sure. But I guess I apologize. I've just never engaged with this kind of idea before.
It's a new idea for most people, so it does take a bit of getting used to. And even intelligent people will struggle with this idea a bit at first because it goes all the way against human nature. Basically, this is right. As far against human nature as you can possibly be, and part of that is it's about being as ethical and moral and compassionate as possible, which is also against human nature because human nature is animalistic. It revolves on that animalistic nature in order to keep survival and reproduction going. So this goes directly against survival and reproduction to the maximum, basically.
Right. Well, I think that's what I maybe disagree with is sure, in lots of practical ethics, there's a push towards, elimination of suffering is one of the primary things discussed in ethics, right? And I think I do agree that if your primary and exhaustive ethic is the elimination of suffering, then that necessarily results in the position you have. I agree with that.
Exactly.
I just don't think that that's my primary ethic. I think survival is an ethic in and of itself that I value.
No, so survival isn't ethics. Survival is just a selfish desire. But people have made the mistake of thinking that it's somehow ethical to prioritize your own survival over the well-being of others. So that it's not ethical
there's I think
to be animalistic, right?
So your conclusion. Yeah, I'm sorry for talking over you. Okay, so your premises to argument there was if you exist, you are causing suffering to others. Therefore, you should not exist in order to eliminate that suffering that necessarily will come to others due to your existence. Yes?
Well,
I mean, on a specific level.
the thing is that yes, but we also need. So that's the sort of bottom up position of, okay, yeah, I shouldn't be here. It's causing harm. The top down position is also necessary, which is saying we have to enforce this, basically, right? We actually have to have a system for this. So yeah, people have to accept it, but people also have to enforce it and to do it properly.
So I guess like in an optimal world where more people were convinced of your position, would that just look like an actual systematic elimination of humanity?
No. So the plan is to grow the movement until we can run the world ethically, and then start with animal extinction, research how life develops, how to prevent it from developing, and then make as much of the world as possible uninhabitable, so beyond Earth potentially. The best case scenario would be to work towards a universe with no life and no possibility of life ever again.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that maybe I disagree with to a point would be like your ethic of reducing suffering, I think,
Ending suffering. Prevent, like, so
Sorry.
abolishing suffering. Yeah.
Fair enough. Would override something like bodily autonomy or agency. Like those seem
No.
No?
So it protects agency and bodily autonomy, right? The thing is, life is forcing people into extreme suffering and lives of pure hell. So you can't really advocate for agency and respect for individuals when you're also saying, well, we should still allow them to be forced into pure hell against their will and tortured for their entire life. So that has to be the first step, essentially. The most important thing is making sure that there is no suffering, nobody being forced into a life of pure suffering.
Yeah. I still think somehow there's, like, my gut instinct is that somehow we're taking a sometimes or a probabilistic position and extending it into an absolute position. So like,
well, it has to be absolute, right? Safety has to be absolute. If you compromise on safety, then you're, unfairly putting innocents into extreme danger, right? So nothing can possibly justify that. No amount of pleasure can justify that. So safety comes first all the time, always.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I know, but that is selfish, right? That is wrong, right? To say that I don't care if anybody's unsafe, right?
Sure.
You can't say that's ethical.
Well, I think you're saying because I do not take the maximalist position on safety and use that as my exclusively top ethic. Not that other ethics don't matter, but that's so far to the top.
So what is more important than safety?
Well, like, may I use another analogy again? I'm sorry. This is how I'm processing this. So like, obviously there are people out there who have done offenses towards children, right? So we still utilize those people to be teachers, right? Like we've not just avoided that completely.
Well, hopefully they're not in classrooms.
Not the specific people, but you could make like you could say humans were the ones who did that, and we still use humans as teachers. That's what I guess I'm trying to say. So like most of humanity is still very, like, if we still value autonomy, if we still value anything about existence, then we're still going to use that. Like, our safety as a species tends to be probabilistic, not absolute.
Right, but safety should be absolute, right? Why should there be partial safety?
So I think it would roll back to that idea that you're saying any existence will cause suffering in certain maximal cases, and it's selfish to think otherwise. And I think I'm okay with that position because
you're okay with people being tortured so that others can be happy?
I don't like that phrasing, obviously.
Well, yeah, a slave owner wouldn't like that phrasing either. He would say, sure. Let's change the language, right? Let's say indentured servitude, right? For financial prosperity. So, yeah, of course you don't like hearing the reality.
Sure. I'll have to consider this position and get back to you. Thank you for the explanation, though.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for coming up. And yeah, if I'm ever aggressive, then it's usually because people are very aggressive against this position. So it's difficult to maintain composure against that. But the reality is that it's human nature that causes that aggression towards this position. So even though extinction is the correct thing, it's ethical, it's moral, it's the fair thing, the compassionate thing, the only right thing, right? To say that nobody should be tortured so that others can have fun. It goes as far against human nature as possible. So it is very understandable that people will have a very negative reaction to this and then perhaps come to reconsider it later as well. So if that happens to you or anyone else, then that is essentially the expected outcome, right? So the normal position, the normal outcome is to think, oh, total extinction, that's insane. This must be a cult full of completely crazy people, violent psychopaths, right? But it's actually the complete opposite of that. All right, we've got some people in the queue. Let's get them up. We've got 347. Hello, how you doing?
Hi, sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, okay, so my first question is, when you said the first step of the movement is to help those who can't help themselves, what do you mean by that? Can you elaborate? Like, who
Well,
specifically are you referring to?
yeah, so we should help animals and other life, right? Potential life as well. So we should help as much life as possible and as much of the world as possible. But yeah, obviously
By
animals
helping
can't help
them.
themselves, right? So yeah, we should make sure to prioritize animals over human extinction.
Yeah, I see what you mean, but why do you suppose animals will want to kill themselves or want to drive themselves into extinction?
It's not that they want to kill themselves, right? And we don't expect they want to kill themselves. And yeah, most of them probably want to live, but that's not what happens to them, right? So it would be like, having a child in a dungeon being tortured and say, should we put it out of its misery? And say, no, it wants to live. It'd be
But
completely
see, yeah, I
psychopathic
don't
to
I don't
say
really
that, right?
like that analogy though. Like an animal in the wild is not the same as a child being locked in a
It's
basement.
worse. It's actually worse. So animals in the wild are being chased for their lives all day, every day by terrifying, monstrous predators. They're starving. They're full of parasites, diseases. They're freezing, right? And then they're being eaten alive at the end of all of it. So, yeah. So it doesn't really get much worse than that, basically, and that's happening to most life born on this planet. So even with the majority, it's completely indefensible, right?
Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to get back to you on the animal standpoint, but I also have one more question. So, I mean, when it comes to humans, right, you talk about ending suffering by essentially just, driving them into extinction. Um, but don't you think there's like better methods in stopping the suffering instead of just like going into unaliving them?
No, no, not at all. So the problem is that while life exists, it will always be in infinite danger. So that's not actually
Hmm.
possible to correct. And so non-existence is the only solution. It's the only way to make life safe. So, if we could make life safe in a different way, that would be a different question, a different story. But that's not even physically possible. So we have to provide the only safety that we can.
But how is that providing them with safety, though? You're essentially removing their existence.
Right, but there are things worse than non-existence which they need to be safe from.
But see, that's subjective, though. That's your
No,
own
no, no,
standpoint. What
no.
about?
That's a fact. That's just a truth.
Mm,
If you don't think anyone's
well, I
ever
don't
been
know. I
in a
don't know about
life where
that.
they would have been better off not existing, then I would say that that's not subjective. That's delusion, fantasy, right? Ignorance.
Well, I mean, I suppose if you were to ask the majority of the world's population, they would say that they would rather exist than not
But
exist.
you would only be asking the survivors, basically. So the idea that we could just ask the majority of the population, whereas all of the dead ones won't be able to answer, all of those who are in dungeons right now won't be able to answer. So you would ask essentially the privileged creme de la creme of privileged people if suffering should continue, right? You wouldn't ask any of the animals in slaughterhouses. You wouldn't ask any of the children in dungeons. You would ask the happy people, basically, the survivors.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, obviously, there's like a certain how do you say?
And
There's like
also,
a certain
you're
amount of
implying
people
that if the
that.
majority wants the minority to be tortured, then it's okay.
What do you mean?
You
The
said
majority
that
want.
if the majority is happy, then who
Mhm.
cares if the minority is suffering, right?
Oh no, I mean the majority. I'm not saying that they
Yeah,
think that torture
you're
is
saying.
okay. I'm
Well, let's
saying,
ask the majority, right? Let's see if the majority
yeah,
support the
and
continuation of the oppression of the minority.
no. The majority supports the continuation of their own existence. They didn't
Right,
say anything
but
about the
no,
existence
that's
of
not true.
others.
That's not true. Okay, so they also support the existence of everything else, right? And you would be very dishonest to say otherwise.
Well, I mean, what I said, my original point was if I were to ask the majority of the population if they want themselves to exist, then they would say yes. But if you were to ask the majority of the population if they think that everyone should be
So
forcefully
do
kept
you think
alive
that
and
we should
forcefully
allow the
kept in
majority
existence,
to? So do you think that we should just leave it to the majority? So if the majority wants slavery,
well,
we should just go with that. If the majority wants cruelty, we should allow it.
I think that existence should
That's
be a
strike one.
choice. It should
That's
not be
strike
something
one.
that's
That's strike
universally
one.
forced on everyone.
So let's see if you can answer that question. Do you think the majority should be allowed to impose any amount of cruelty on the minority?
No.
Okay, so why are you appealing to the majority?
Because the majority want themselves to be alive. I'm saying that essentially they're just saying that they want to keep their own existence alive, and
Right.
they're
So
not saying
again,
that
you're
everyone should be
appealing to the
forcefully kept alive.
majority and saying, yeah, if the minority don't like it, who gives a shit, basically? The majority has spoken. The suffering must continue.
Well, I mean, I'm saying, well, minority,
Yeah,
they,
we get it. Okay, thanks for your amazing arguments there. Yeah, most people make the exact same mistake where they say, well, the majority think the suffering should continue. So who's the minority to say otherwise? Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Amazing.
Your
Do you have any
position,
questions?
your position is absurd. It violates laws of logic. It violates laws of morality. It violates laws of physics. It's not even logically
I'm not
possible.
hearing any sort of logic or counter argument here. Just
Sure. Well, allow me to
claims,
demonstrate. Sure.
assertions.
Allow me to demonstrate. Sure. Allow me to demonstrate. There's a effect in quantum mechanics called quantum immortality. I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but it's
Quantum
intrinsic to the way.
immortality. Yeah, okay. That's why we should allow child abuse. Quantum immortality. Amazing argument. Yeah, sure. Okay, moving on. We have Ren coming up next. And we've also got lots of other people in the queue. Hello, how you doing?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Oh, hello, James. I'm a big fan. I'm not here to argue. I just wanted to ask you a couple questions
Okay.
because I was just like kind of curious. It's more about you yourself personally. So, first of all, are you aware about like nihilism? Have you heard about it? Like
Yeah.
the philosophical
Yeah.
idea. Do you align yourself with that
No.
personally? And why so? Because
I'm an extinctionist. It's as simple as that.
okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, that's a stupid question. Okay, the other question is, if you had a button that could like cause a total extinction, just you, like it's your personal decision to do that, would you press that button?
Yeah.
So if you're saying if you had the power personally to do that, you would do that without like even thinking about it, no hesitations.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Good
I
luck.
mean,
Do you have
you
a- do you
just
have-
have to think about the sufferers who it's going to help, right? So if you don't push that button, you're continuing all of the, child rape, baby rape, all of the psychopaths who are torturing animals and children right now. You're literally saying, you know what? Yeah, go for it. I'm going to let you continue. Who cares? Just go for it. Do whatever you want, right? That child in your dungeon, you know what? Just do whatever you want for as long as you want. Just here's a blank check, basically. So no, we should not keep giving these child abusers, animal abusers, blank checks to continue doing as much abuse as they want, right? You know, right now there are dungeons with children being abused, and the abusers have, you know, the freedom to do whatever they want. Hello, how you doing?
Hello, I'm good. And you?
Good, good.
So, first of all, English is not my first language, so I may stutter a little bit, so don't worry about it. But my point is, if you do recognize that the majority of the population doesn't want to be killed, you're basically saying that you're one of your movement participants will never get elected or get in a position of power. How are you going to do that?
Well, we're a minority now, but we might not be in the future. And also, it is possible to take power with a minority as well. That's happened a lot of times in history.
Well, I don't think it's fair to, as a minority, decide.
So you don't think it's fair for a minority of humans, for example, to say that the majority of humans shouldn't be torturing animals? You don't think that would be fair?
I don't think it's fair to kill a whole population because some people torture animals.
So what about animal populations being killed, right? Do you think that's fair?
I don't think it's fair. I think it's natural.
Okay, so you think it's fine? You think it's all right? So torturing animals, that's so on one hand you're saying that wouldn't be fair, but if animals get tortured horrifically, it's not fair, but it's fine. Do you realize how,
Unfortunately, yes.
to take advice on ethics from somebody like
I have
that.
another argument, but yes, unfortunately,
Yeah. So to take ethics from somebody like that would be completely insane, right? Somebody that says, "Oh, you shouldn't go against oppression if the majority wants it." That would be unfair. Torturing animals to death for fun? Well, who cares if it's fair or not? But you can't give advice on ethics when you're like, torturing animals for fun? Yeah, that's fine. What's wrong with you? How crazy are you? Look, you literally, you have no right to say torturing animals is totally acceptable. We should never care if it happens. And then to turn around and say, ending suffering without the majority opinion, that would be unfair. So effectively, Alex and what other people do as well is they say it's unfair to end cruelty, right? It's like saying ending slavery, that would be unfair. What about all the money I make, right? So essentially they have this upside down concept of fairness. And this is true for most humans, okay? So this isn't just about Alex, but most humans have this upside down idea of fairness. So for example, if 99% of the population is begging for death and Alex says, no, I don't support extinction because I'm still happy, right? He would say, extinction, that would be unfair. 99% of the population would benefit and they're begging for it, but that would be unfair to me, right? They're being tortured and I'm fine and I'm just having some unnecessary pleasure while they're being tortured horrifically. But to stop their torture, to take away from my ice cream, that would be unfair. So I'm not exaggerating. This is the actual mentality that they have, where essentially what's already unfair, if you take that away, that's unfair, right? So it's like a slave owner saying, no, you can't take away my slaves. Don't free the slaves. Don't end slavery. That wouldn't be fair to me. Think how much money I'm making every time they go out and earn for me, right? So that wouldn't be fair to me. Ending slavery, that, you're only considering the suffering. What about all the pleasure and joy? So this is the exact mentality that they have, where if you're saying let's abolish cruelty and forcing others into lives of pure hell, they're like, that would be unfair though, right? So it should be obvious that if you have two people and one has a happy life, but it requires the other one to be tortured for their entire life, that's not fair. Whereas people like Alex would say, what? Take away the extremely cruel life, but also take away the happy life? That's not fair. So people like Alex think it's more fair to have the suffering and the cruelty, right? So, nobody being tortured so that nobody's happy. Oh, that's not fair. Somebody being tortured horrifically so that somebody can be happy. That's fair. So their ethics, their morality is upside down effectively. So they have completely upside down morality where ending suffering, ending cruelty, that would be unfair. Hello, how you doing?
Well, and you, Guy. It looks like you're having a bit of a breakdown there because of capitalists.
No counter argument detected.
Okay, so the counter argument comes in here. You are bitching and whining that.
Okay, so there is no counter argument, right? There never was one. It started with just insults and it continued with insults. It's a shame, right? So many people come up onto stage. I'm not even a vegan, by the way, Donkey. So many people like I come up on stage and instead of debating, instead of saying, okay, here's my argument. Are you ready? I think you'll find it interesting. They're just like, you're
Bro,
stupid.
I understand your opinion, but that's not even possible.
Why not?
Possible. Fam.
Why not? So another great example of somebody coming up on stage and having zero logic, zero arguments at all, right? Oh, that's stupid. Why? I gotta go, bye. How many times does this happen? And they'll wrap it up in excuses and disguises like the other guy and say, oh, this is stupid, you're stupid. And it's like, can I hear an argument or some logic? This is stupid. And then I kick them out and they're like, see, he couldn't debate against me saying it was stupid. And it's like, oh, wow, these guys have really, really low standards for logic, intelligence, debating, counter arguments. They literally think just calling something stupid is a good argument, actually. It's amazing. Okay, let's see if we got anybody else in the queue worth talking to.
Okay, I'm back.
Not. Let's see. Okay, we've got Solar Bodies coming up next. Into the Extinction Zone. Hello.
Hey, good morning.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you.
All right, so do you have any dogma?
If you like Dogma, you can go and watch the film.
Do you have any reverence for anything in life?
Okay, so once again, nothing of interest or value in that conversation. Let's move on. Hello, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. About yourself, man?
Well, I'm all right, but so far we've had no good debates in the last half an hour, just people coming up with nothing to say, essentially, but just gibberish. So hopefully you've got something better to say.
For sure. I've seen the last 10 seconds. Oh, let me pause my music. Don't know why my music starts playing every time I join up on live. But anyway, so I have first a hypothetical and then an argument. Okay. So if we were to reduce suffering to the point where the greatest amount of suffering is like the equivalent of occasionally stubbing your toe, would you still feel this way?
The thing is that it's impossible to limit it to that. And even if we achieved a world where that was happening, we would still support extinction if it's possible for it to change, right? So the thing is that the actual standards for life to exist is certainty of safety. So that actually requires omniscience to have true certainty of safety. So without that, extinction will always be the correct thing to do, and without omniscience, there will always be infinite danger, infinite risk. So, for example, you could have a simulation, everyone thinks it's fine, and everyone, walks into it, and then it goes wrong somehow, and they get tortured for millions of years. So that's the kind of thing that will happen if people have these low standards for safety that they do now, where they say, who cares if anyone suffers? And effectively, the mentality is, well, I don't care if anyone else suffers horrifically, and I'm just going to hope it doesn't happen to me. That's the standard of safety that we have for the world right now.
All right, thank you for that clarification. The actual argument here is what is the purpose of ending suffering if there are no beings that would be able to appreciate the lack of suffering?
Well, you don't need anyone to appreciate it, right? So we're not doing this to have people say thank you, right? And the thing is that like you have to think of it as shutting down hell. Right? We don't need anyone to still be in hell afterwards to say, yeah, hell's been shut down. That wouldn't make sense.
But the method by which we would characterize this as hell is intrinsically tied to being alive. Like it's situated within that context.
So like think about when you put down an animal that's in a lot of pain, for example, right? It's a good thing that it no longer exists, and the animal doesn't have to still be alive to appreciate that. That wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, but if there's nothing at all in existence, right? There is no life for it. Like suffering exists within the context of the perception of living beings. If there's no living being
you're making the mistake that nothing can ever be done correctly or well unless somebody's there to watch it. That just doesn't make sense. So we can do the job and it can still be good even after there's no mind to observe.
I'm saying what it means to do a job well is entirely dependent upon an actual observer. What is the objective standard by which you apply this?
And make sure we do a good job, right? Simple as that.
What is a good job in an objective context outside of life?
If you're shutting down hell, right, you don't want anyone to still be there to appreciate it, right? Because they'd still be in hell. So you're not making any sense.
But by what methodology do you determine that is hell?
All right, think about it this way. We rescue some children from a dungeon, right? And you would say, no, we need to leave one or two children in the dungeon so that they can appreciate the fact that, there's no more abuse going on in that dungeon. I would say, no, let's take them out of the dungeon. You would say, no, they have to stay there so they can appreciate it. This is messed up. This is some sort of victim abuse mentality you've got.
That's not the argument I made.
You're saying instead of
I don't think
freeing
that's
the victims,
even
we
close
should
to
make them
comparable.
appreciate their freedom. This is disgusting.
No, I'm saying that ending suffering is meaningless if there's no thing
Meaningless
alive
to who?
to not suffer.
Meaningless to who?
To the only things that could attribute meaning to things.
No one cares about your meaning, right? That's all it is. You don't care about safety from suffering if you don't get any meaning out of it. It's selfish, it's disgusting, it's irresponsible, it's insensitive. Do better.
By what objective measure do you determine suffering is wrong?
No, the guy doesn't even disagree, right? He's literally saying that nobody should be safe unless there's some meaning we can get out of it. This is disgusting, right? Safety should not depend upon your meaning and your emotions, right? He's basically saying, unless I enjoy this, then I can't support it. This is disgusting. Meaning, take your meaning and shove it out the window. It should have nothing to do with safety from extreme suffering. Hello, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good, and you?
Good, thank you.
Okay, so my counter to this is there are many people in this world that are experiencing extreme suffering, but still want to do everything they can to carry on living. So my point is that living is worth more than the lack of suffering. People want to live more than they want to end suffering. So even people that are suffering, they still want to live because life is worth more than that.
So let me ask you a question. If a child abuser rapes and kills a child, is that okay because the child wanted to live?
The suffering is not okay, but the child still wants to live.
Let's get a yes or no.
So
you just dodged that question. So I'm putting you on strike one. Let's see if you can actually address questions that are asked to you.
Okay, repeat the question again, please.
Okay. So, if you remember, we were talking about. I can't even remember now. So, this is why I hate it when people just don't pay attention, don't listen to what I'm saying, because they just derail the whole conversation. It's like, guys, if you're going to come up here and debate and have a conversation, don't be watching Netflix at the same time, right? If you're not going to listen, if you're just going to ignore everything I say and just derail the entire conversation, then just don't come up, right? Don't waste our time. Listen, be respectful, listen to what the other people are saying, actually answer their questions, don't just dodge it and forget it ever happened. Hello, Ben, how you doing?
Now, just a quick question. If it was only animals that were suffering, only animals, that's it, would you still want to go ahead with this?
Yeah, animals don't deserve to suffer, so we should prevent them from suffering.
Okay, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ben. Yeah, there's no reason for animals to deserve to suffer. There's no reason for any human to deserve to suffer. Nobody should suffer. Nobody should be forced into a life of hell. And again, it's very obvious, right? If you wouldn't have somebody tortured for their entire life just so that you could live, why should anybody else be able to do that, right? It should be obvious. But the thing is that these people would have other people tortured for their entire life just so they can live. And they are doing that, right? Most people are doing that on a day-to-day basis. They're exploiting animals. They don't care how much they suffer. They're literally farming them, right? The entire life is torture so that they can have not even a life, but just a bit of fun. So yeah, most people's respect for the suffering of others is negative, right? It's like minus infinity, basically. Okay, we've got Intelligence coming up next. Hello, how you doing? Do you have any
Hello,
questions?
I'm doing well. Yeah, sorry, my mic was glitching a little bit. So, I have a question to you is that for those who go throughout life and they enjoy the experiences, the ups and downs of life, the trials and tribulations that they go through, they wouldn't necessarily equate that to suffering, but you do. So, therefore, for those people who do enjoy those experiences in life and those trials and tribulations, it wouldn't make sense to
Well, no, the
propose
thing is
forceful
that
total extinction.
you're not considering all of the extreme suffering. So you think that this is just about, oh, I've got to go to work, and yeah, I get to have a great time after work, but oh, I have to go to work. No, it's there's much worse suffering out there than just that.
I'm sure there is worse suffering out there, but like there's people who enjoy life regardless of suffering, regardless of the experiences they have. So
Okay.
therefore, you shouldn't
So let me ask you
like
this: do you think there's any amount of suffering that is ever a problem? So, like, if 99% of the population was saying we don't want to be here, we want extinction, would you say, your suffering is good for the minority that wants to live?
I mean, that's their personal like
Yeah, so
vendetta.
you would,
Like
so you would say, yeah. If the 1% wants to live and they're torturing the 99%, then that's fair, that's right.
no, 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 no. I didn't say that whatsoever. No, you're misunderstanding what I just said. I'm saying, yeah, so if those people, if the 99% of people who don't want to be here anymore and they're like, hey, we're suffering, I don't want to be here, then they should, I mean, they have autonomy over their lives and how
Do
their
they?
lives should
Do
be.
they? Do they?
Yeah, yeah,
Really?
absolutely.
Really? So would you say that without any exceptions?
Without any exceptions. I mean, there's some barriers. Like, for example, we don't have euthanasia as a
So you think
viable.
every individual can just take their own life at any time?
No, not everybody has the willpower to. Like, lots of
Right.
people
So
who
when you
suffer
said they can just
don't
take
have
their
the
life at
willpower.
any time, you weren't talking about everyone. So you were talking about some sort of privileged minority or something.
A privileged minority of people.
You're not
Okay.
listening, are you? You're not paying. Is there anything going on? Hello?
No, I'm
No, you're
understanding
not
what you're
listening.
saying.
Nothing's going on.
No, I'm understanding what you're saying and I understand where you're coming from. I just wanted to clarify what you meant by a privileged minority. Like the privileged minority is people who have the willpower to take their lives and have autonomy over their lives and their bodies.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Um yeah, I just have to fundamentally disagree with you
On what?
on
That's not an argument. That's literally saying, yeah, you're right and I'm wrong, but I have no way to defend myself, and I can't carry on the facade anymore that I'm right. So I'm just going to say, let's
No,
agree to disagree.
it's not necessarily that I can't carry on the facade, but it's like literally I just don't share that worldview. I
Yeah,
just don't share the same worldview as you.
yeah. You don't share the same worldview that nobody should be tortured so that others can have fun.
I'm
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, and look, you can disguise that and say, let's agree to disagree, but I'm still going to call you out for being, a selfish, disgusting person. Again, you're like, yes, I am a piece of shit, but let's just say, I agree to disagree, instead of, I'm a piece of shit. But no, I'm not going to let you get away with that. Ian, how you doing?
Yo, James, I got a question.
Go for it.
So, hypothetically, if total extinction would work, you and Trump would be the last people on Earth. Would you reproduce together?
Me and Trump?
Yeah.
If we had to.
Would you be the submissive one, or would you be the
Yeah, look, we live in a world where intelligence is required to help it, and yet people are talking about having sex with Trump, okay? So not only do people have incredibly terrible mentalities when it comes to suffering and allowing it, but they also just don't care about the world enough to take it seriously, right? So the world needs to be looked after seriously. People are being tortured, animals are being tortured, and people would rather just laugh about it and just not give a shit, right? It's like being a citizen in hell, basically, and saying, who cares at this point? But we should care, and we should try and stop the suffering. All right, do we have any more people? Justin, hello, how you doing?
Oh, yo, bro, James. I have a question. How will we get extinct? Like, are we going to bomb the world, or are we just gonna shoot people?
We don't know yet. That doesn't really matter. We'll just do whatever's best.
Okay, man. Thank you.
Yeah, and again, it's difficult to say how we're going to make humans go extinct when it could happen 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now, 10,000 years from now. So, like, if it's going to happen 10,000 years from now, it's probably going to be robots or something in the water or something. Who knows, right? So, I mean, there's no way to say how we're going to make humans go extinct today. I mean, even 10 years from now, any methods that we suggest today could potentially change within 10 years. So the method doesn't matter. How we make humanity go extinct doesn't matter. What does matter is getting rational people on board who are going to agree to help make it happen, right? No matter what the method is. So, if you're only going to agree with extinction depending on the method, then we definitely don't want you in the movement, right? We want people that want the end of all suffering, no matter how we have to achieve it, right? People that are willing to look into different methods and different ways of achieving the end of all suffering. So if you're going to only support one method, one way of doing it, then you never really cared about the sufferers in the first place. All right, so we still don't have anybody in the queue, so let's get some more people up for debates and discussions, questions, conversations. Hopefully we'll get someone that can actually try and argue against extinction. Ironically, it's kind of impossible. So, wanting people to argue against extinction, we're kind of setting ourselves up for failure in that sense, right? Because anyone that tries to argue against it is going to end up sounding like a complete crazy person, right? They're going to start saying, yeah, children can kill themselves and babies can commit suicide. Yeah, no problem. you know, like the last guest tried to do, right? Oh yeah, anyone suffering, they can just kill themselves, right? A baby with cancer, yeah, just show it how to form a noose, right? Yeah, great solution, guys. Hello, how you doing?
I'm good. I just wanna go against like your argument that like, because you assume that like happiness and all that other stuff doesn't have moral value.
No, I never said that.
Yeah, you do, because
No, I never
no,
said
but
that. I've often said the opposite. So you're starting with a straw man. This isn't a good start, okay? Happiness and all that stuff.
No.
It does have moral value, but it's like 0.001. It's basically nothing. It's negligible. It might as well be zero compared to safety from suffering.
So how do you measure that?
We don't need to, right? It's just like logic, basically.
Nah, I don't get that, because you're saying
Okay,
it's
so let me ask you this:
compared to suffering.
would you need to measure child abuse to know it's bad?
No.
All right, so it's the same thing. You don't need to measure it with a ruler.
Okay, would you need to measure love to know it's good?
What are you talking about, man? Honestly, what are we even talking about?
No, okay, you said it's 0.01. By what metric are you estimating?
That wasn't a real thing, right? I'm just saying
Exactly.
It might
You
as
have
well
no
be 0.
measurement.
Yeah, exactly. We don't need measurements. We don't need measurements to know that child abuse is bad, that extreme suffering is unacceptable, right? Only a crazy person would try and measure child abuse to determine if it's bad or good. Okay. Anyway, that guy noped out by his own accord, so fair enough. Let's get Odium 99 on next. Bringing them up. And yeah, anybody else that wants to join, let's get you in the queue. We need more challengers. But be prepared to fail, right? You will fail miserably if you try and debate against extinction. And you will essentially end up looking like a clown, like a fool. And that's not your fault, right? That's just the way you were born, is to glorify life at all costs, right? Even if it doesn't make sense, right? At all. So when we say that humans are irrational, what we mean is that their ability to be rational is compromised, right? So their focus on survival and reproduction, it compromises their ability to be rational, right? Because it's just like pushed to 110, basically, right? Glorify life, glorify reproduction. In the settings on a human, it's pushed over the limit, right? Way over the limit to where they just irrationally support life and reproduction. Like, life good, life good. And yeah, I'm not even joking. This is actually true. So this is scientifically true. And what that does, if you basically, grow the prioritization part of the brain for survival and reproduction and just make it like grotesquely big, then it will override any logic, any rationality, any reason, any sense. And so it ends up creating this disgusting, warped, horrible dystopia as a result. A dystopia based on the idea that, we should never care if anyone suffers. No amount of suffering will ever justify extinction, that life is justified no matter what, at all costs, no matter who gets hurt, how badly or how many, life will always be justified, right? And it will always be worth it. It will always make sense. So that is obviously irrational, and it ends up making you say completely irrational things like, oh yeah, I would never support extinction even if 99% of the population is begging for it, right? It's not everybody, right? I would only support extinction if it's 100% of the population. Otherwise, it's unfair, right? Oh yeah, extinction would be unfair. What about the happiness? What about the joy? What about that 1% of the population having happiness and joy at the expense of the 99% begging for death, right? So that's obviously irrational. And yeah, it truly is the brain's sort of focus on survival and reproduction, which overrides rationality and will make people say completely insane things if they conflict with survival and reproduction. Hello, how you doing, Odium? Odium? No? You've joined twice now, Odium. No? Okay, forget it. So, once again, appealing for new people to join the queue. Anybody that wants to debate or discuss, let's get you up. But yeah, that's it really, is that there is no argument against extinction. There is no argument for cruelty. And really, the pro-life position depends specifically on not caring about suffering, not caring about bad lives. So it specifically depends on not even accounting for them, right? Not even thinking about them, just pretending they don't exist, basically. So when you introduce the idea of bad lives and is this fair? Is it fair for life to exist? All of their opinions are based on ignorance and ignoring the existence of suffering and bad lives. So next time you're watching a TV show or a film, try and, think about it, right? Just watch the characters and just realize that they don't care about suffering, right? Humans just do not care about the existence of suffering, whether it happens to them or anyone else. And, they don't care about it happening to all of the animals around them, all of the people around them, who, a lot of them will be at home, hidden away, so that they don't, upset the privileged people by, reminding them that suffering exists. All right, we've got bells coming up next. Bringing them up. In 3, 2, 1, and come on, load. Sometimes you bring someone up and it just buffers forever for some reason. Meanwhile, while Bells is trying to load in, let's get more volunteers in the queue. Come on, let's hear your opinion. Let's hear you try and challenge extinction. So if you want to, then you should start by saying something like, extinction would be wrong because it's not fair to those that want to live. Which is what a lot of people will say. But they are completely ignoring the sufferers, right? They're completely ignoring them, right? Just pretending they don't exist, not accounting for them at all. So, it's, again, like, imagine if you're in hell, and obviously everybody's being tortured, and you go up to a demon, right? And the demon is, whipping the children and the animals, he's torturing them. And you say to the demon, like, do you think this is maybe not fair? Do you think maybe we should end all of this cruelty, even if it means that you're not having fun, whipping all of the children and animals and people anymore? The demon is going to say, no, that would be unfair, right? What about my happiness? And this is exactly what it sounds like when people come up here and say, total extinction, that would be unfair, right? What about my happiness? You might as well be Satan himself whipping children in hell, right? And saying, ending suffering, that would be, what about my happiness, right? That would be unfair. What about the other demons who are enjoying hell? Right? That would be unfair to them. So this is literally what it is to defend life, right? You might as well be defending demons in hell. Hello, how you doing?
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, so what do you mean by forceful total extinction?
Yeah, so extinction has to be forceful because it's the defense of the victims of suffering. So if we don't use force to defend the victims of suffering and bad lives, then force will be used against them to make them suffer, whether it's with reproduction or abuse and cruelty, etc. So we have to use force to defend victims, right? We have to say, yeah, I will defend you, I will help you. I'm not just going to stand by and let you get abused and made to suffer. I'm going to defend you. I'm going to use force to defend you. So that's what we should do. And that's why extinction has to be forceful, right? Defending the victims of suffering has to be forceful. Otherwise, they will just be continued to be made to suffer for the rest of time.
wait, so are you saying that we should forcefully unalive people.
Yeah.
Like,
Not
wait, so
now. Not right now. So we're
yeah, for the
against.
future.
Yeah, so we're against vigilante justice, and we want to do extinction as a government, because otherwise you can't realistically do it, right? It's not going to be possible to do extinction if the government is trying to stop you, right? It's going to be very difficult to do that. So we have to do it as the government, and that way we'll be able to do it properly. We'll be able to start with animal extinction, researching how to prevent life developing in the world again, how to prevent it coming back and evolving and all of this stuff. So we have to do extinction as a proper job as a government. And yeah, when it comes to humans, that will be, the final stage, because we have to help those who can't help themselves first, like animals. Because if humanity goes extinct first, animals will keep suffering for billions of years. So we can't allow humanity to decline in population until we've helped animals first. But yeah, when it comes to humans, it'll be forceful. It'll be putting them to sleep, basically.
Okay, so how exactly, like, do you think we're gonna like achieve this? Like,
By growing the movement until we have
no,
enough
but
people
like,
to do it.
no, I'm saying, yeah, let's just say we got to a point where there is enough people in the movement, right? And enough people agree. How exactly are we gonna like unalive people?
The best way, however it is, doesn't matter. What does it matter?
Yeah, but how is that gonna solve anything? Because obviously there's gonna be some people who don't want to be unalive.
Right? But if we get rid of them, then they won't suffer, and they won't make anyone else suffer ever again.
Yeah, but wouldn't you, because what you're saying is that you're trying to stop human suffering, right? So forcefully unaliving someone, isn't that not suffering?
Right, yeah, but it's going to prevent much more suffering, right? So, like, being put to sleep is nothing compared to an entire life of hell, right?
Mm. So how exactly are people going to be like unalived? Is it going to be like, what kind of method is it?
Again, we don't know, but it doesn't matter, right? So ideally, it'll just be like nice and peaceful. But if we have to shoot them, then we'll do it.
Okay, and like, is it all going to be like all of humanity, like all humans are going to like just like die all at
Yeah, it
once,
has to
or is
be
it going to?
total extinction, right? So if there's any that are in bunkers, then we'll be digging them out and freeing their victims, basically. There might be some billionaires in some bunkers, right? And they've taken some children down to abuse with them. So we'll dig them up and we'll just put them all to sleep, all of them, so that there's no more suffering.
Yeah, but you're not going to solve anything though, because forcefully
when you're
unaliving
saying that
someone.
doesn't solve anything, do you not see how that's an incredibly arrogant and incorrect thing, right? To say that no more billions of years of suffering doesn't solve anything, right? That's a really disgusting thing to say to the victims of suffering.
Yeah, well, I'm not trying to like, I
Doesn't
get
solve
there's
anything.
victims.
So all of the children that won't
When
be raped doesn't solve anything.
no,
That's
yeah,
how you feel.
and I think the people
Doesn't solve
who,
anything. All of the animals that would have been abused doesn't solve anything to you.
yeah, but like, I think we should hold these rapists and these abusers accountable, right? I think we should make them go extinct. We should
Right.
unalive them.
But
But then you're gonna be, yeah, but you're gonna
that's
be
not how it
unaliving
works.
people.
That's not
Yeah,
how it
but then
works.
again, you're forcefully unaliving someone. So how is that not suffering? Because you're making a human suffer.
Yeah, but it's preventing much more suffering than it causes.
It's still suffering though.
Yeah, that's fine.
Like for me, I don't wanna be forcefully unalived. So is it still?
Yeah,
I
but
have no say in it.
that forceful unaliving will continue much worse unless we do extinction. So extinction makes unaliving impossible, which will continue on forever unless we stop it. So you're like, violence, that's wrong. We shouldn't use violence to end violence. We should allow violence to just continue on forever.
So what made you come to this kind of? Who started this movement? You?
No.
So what made you join this kind of movement?
I was invited to join. They said they were trying to end all suffering, and it was just immediately obvious to me that that was the right thing to do.
Yeah, but doesn't this kind of seem like a cult?
No?
It kind of is, though.
In what way?
Like forcefully unaliving. You guys
Yeah,
wanting to
I'm
forcefully
still
unalive
waiting
people?
for you to say in what way it's like a cult.
Because you guys want to forcefully unalive people?
So what is the US Army a cult as well?
Yeah, I don't agree with the US Army. I mean, they do a
Are
lot of.
veterinarians that euthanize animals, are they in a cult as well?
Yeah, but you're saying forceful total extinction, like
Okay, but
unaliving
I would
all
say
of
that
humanity.
people who are pro-life like yourself are in the real cult, right? You're lying to yourself. You're justifying cruelty and extreme
I mean, I
suffering.
wouldn't really say I'm
That's more
pro-life.
cultish, right? That's much more cultish.
I wouldn't really say I'm pro-life, to be honest.
Well, it sounds like you are.
I,
Right?
I,
You're saying
no,
we shouldn't end billions of years of suffering. We should protect the privilege of the tiny amount of living humans right now, and never harm them, even if it would prevent billions of years of harm.
yeah, but again, I don't believe that all human life. I don't believe. I mean, I wouldn't really say like I'm pro-life because I don't believe certain lives are valuable.
Well, it sounds
Like
like
I
you're
don't.
pro-life. It sounds like you're pro-suffering,
No,
pro-life, pro all
I
of that.
don't believe like a rapist or an abuser should be alive. So
Okay, but you don't support total extinction, so you obviously do think they should be alive.
no, why would I support? What is it? Billions of people should be unalived. Like I don't support that.
Right, so you want rapists to continue living.
Is like how many? Like are
Think
you
about it
saying
this
the
way:
entire?
if you had a
Why are
button
you
which
saying the
destroyed the
entire of
universe right now,
humanity is rapist? I'm not a rapist. I've never raped or abused somebody.
yeah, but so exactly, it's like, yeah, who cares if
So
children are being
why
raped?
should I suffer? Why
Yeah,
should I
you're
suffer?
saying who cares if children are being raped? I'm not a rapist, and what? Yeah, why should I have to suffer? Who gives a shit if anyone else is suffering? That's exactly what you're saying. Okay, so it's disgusting. It's literally, if you push these pro-lifers like that person, they absolutely are pro-life, 100%. If you push them to their limits on their opinions, they'll start saying things like, "Who gives a fuck if children are being abused? Well, why should I care about anyone else?" Hello, how you doing? Hello.
Hello.
Hi, do you have any questions? Okay, sounds like you've got some microphone issues. Moving on, we've got lots of people in the queue now, so let's get through some debates. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, hi. How you doing?
Yeah, not so bad. So, you've been living in my head rent free. I think we spoke maybe 2 weeks ago or something. But I'm just trying to. I've been thinking a lot. I think the previous guest was touching on something that I kind of just want to explore a bit more. Where do I go with it? So it's kind of the practicalities around how it's achieved. I think it does matter. Basically, people that are against total extinction, or I guess the common unifying idea is that there's a degree of suffering that we're willing to accept, if that makes sense. Would you agree with that? So people that are against total extinction ultimately are saying there is a degree of global suffering.
For most of them, there's no amount of suffering that will ever be too much. So think about it this way, right? For most of these people, they would happily be the owner of a universe where every planet is full of animals killing each other and having a terrible time. And most of them would be like, "Oh, this is brilliant. This is great. I can learn about these animals. I can watch them for fun. I can travel to the different planets and watch different animals kill each other." So there is no amount, right? It could be an entire universe full of suffering. So no, for most people, it's not that there's a degree of suffering they're willing to accept. It's that there's no amount of suffering that will ever be too much.
Okay, fair enough. Fair point. So, to be fair, that doesn't change too much from what I was going to say next. So, in terms of actually achieving the plan, let's just say, that's going to inherently cause suffering.
A negligible amount. A negligible amount.
I think that's really, I think that's a bit that sticks out here, where actually, like, you know, I don't think it will be a negligible amount. I think
So how
even
much would be
fearing
too
death.
much? How much would be too much?
How much would be too much suffering?
Yeah.
Well, I think any in that situation.
Any amount of suffering. So any amount of suffering to prevent billions of years of extreme suffering is wrong.
Yeah, because I mean the scale of.
So we should. So instead of you know harming one fly, we should allow billions of years of suffering. That's the better option. That's the lesser of two evils. Is to allow billions of years of just uncontrolled horrific suffering. So if you have to kill one fly, one ant to prevent just countless victims of suffering for billions of years, you shouldn't do it. That would be evil. The lesser of two evils is to allow infinite victims for infinite years. That's your logic.
Well, I just don't think it's a fly at all. Like if there's 8 billion people.
Well, I'm using your words here. So you said no amount of suffering would be acceptable to prevent infinite suffering. That it's infinitely better to have infinite suffering than to cause even the smallest amount of suffering. So do you not see how this is completely insane, like completely backwards thinking?
No, I don't think so. So
really? So you genuinely think that the lesser of two evils would be between killing a fly and allowing billions of years of horrific suffering? You think allowing billions of years of horrific suffering is the lesser of two evils compared to killing a fly?
No, not at all.
Well, Luke, I was hoping for some sort of intelligent discussion here, but if your brain is that broken, then I think that's pretty much the conclusion of the conversation, really, isn't it? You know, if we point out that you're that insane, then what's the point of talking about anything else?
Hello.
Hello, how you doing?
Good. Last time I was up here, you said that I was a selfish piece of shit and a demon from hell. My big question to you is, how is it not selfish to say that we should exterminate all human life when there is plenty of people out there who enjoy the life we live and enjoy...
So it's not selfish because we're thinking about those who are suffering terribly.
Well, like, I just don't think that
So you think you're not being selfish by just not caring if anyone suffers?
Well, obviously, like, living in a first world country like me and you both do, we have to acknowledge that there's some amount of suffering that attributes
just
to the life we
normalize
live.
the suffering. Yeah,
But
who
I
cares
don't.
if anyone
No.
suffers?
I'm
Who
not saying
cares if
that.
anyone
I don't
suffers,
believe
right?
that the answer to all of these issues is just exterminate everybody. I feel like that's saying, oh, this is just too hard. We'll just end it all now. I think.
No, the problem is that you don't care if anyone suffers. That's the problem.
I do care if people suffer.
You don't. You don't.
No, I do care if people suffer. My answer isn't just nuke the
You
whole
would
world.
definitely choose a world with suffering over one without suffering. So no, you can't say that you care about the sufferers.
I do care about the sufferers.
No, you want to have your cake and eat it, right? People are always trying to do this, say, yeah, we should allow all of the cruelty and extreme suffering. Oh, but I care about them. Yeah, no, it's like a slave owner saying, yeah, I care about my slaves. Yeah, I'm against ending slavery, but that doesn't mean I don't care about my slaves.
Yeah, suffering.
Yeah, exactly. So he agrees with this. He's not even going to try and disagree with it. Yeah, he is effectively admitting that he's a slave owner, saying that he cares about his slaves, right? Oh, yeah, of course I care if people suffer, but we shouldn't end all suffering. Okay, do you want to try that one again? Like, here's the translation, right? Yeah, of course I think slavery is wrong, and I care about slaves, but I don't think we should end slavery. Or let me try another one for you. Yeah, of course child abuse is wrong, but I don't think we should end child abuse. So it's the exact same thing. It's like, I care about the victims of child abuse, but I don't think we should end child abuse. So just, again, so the problem here is that the word suffering itself has been watered down by these oppressors, like that person, right? So it's like the word slavery, right? Slave owners would love it if the word slavery was like watered down and, wasn't as emotionally triggering, right? Because then it's like, well, suffering, slavery, why do you even care about these things, right? So slave owners would be thrilled if the word slavery had the same low effect that the word suffering has, right? Because people can say, yeah, suffering. Who gives a shit if a bit of suffering? Yes, fine. But you change that to slavery and it's like, oh, yeah, actually, yeah, you shouldn't be talking about suffering like that. Because it's like, oh, yeah, a bit of slavery? Who gives a fuck, right? The slaves are probably benefiting from it. And what about the balance? What about the money we're making off of slavery? So now translate that and replace the word with suffering. Oh, a bit of suffering? Yeah, that's fine, right? What about all the benefit? What about all the pleasure and joy we get because suffering exists? So yeah, you might as well be saying slavery. You might as well be saying child abuse. You might as well be saying, oh, what, make child rape impossible? No, that's too much effort. That's just not worth it, right? What about all the other stuff in life? So it is the same, right? You are basically defending slavery and all of the other suffering going on and just saying, well, we benefit, so who cares? Right, so life is the ultimate hypocrisy.
How you doing?
Hello, how
How
you
you
doing?
doing, my bro?
Yeah,
Yo,
good.
so
Do you have
you
any questions?
yeah, I've got quite a few for you actually. So you keep talking about slavery. I think that's quite interesting when your philosophy is directly opposing free will. You're trying to dictate what happens to the lives of 8 billion people. I'd say that's slavery.
We're not talking just about people, but animals as well. And it's not
Yeah.
about 8 billion people, right? You're forgetting about all of the future life as well.
So you want to control all life that happens in the future. You want to control everyone. I've got another question for you. You want to kill me. You want me to die. That's extinction, isn't it? If I tell you I want to live, what makes your opinion more valid than mine? What gives you the right? What makes you smart enough to decide what happens to all of these people?
Yeah, well, the thing is that we are building like an authority, like an ethical authority, a movement, an organization. So that's where we get the authority, right? Because it's not just some random person off the street. There is a hierarchy, there is organization to it. In the same way that a government has, hierarchy, laws, ethics, and all of that.
Okay, all right. I've got another question for you. You say you're an activist. What actions are you actually taking? Because I looked over the Discord. All I see is you making TikToks and selling T-shirts and stuff.
Yeah, so we're growing the movement essentially. We're developing the movement, the ethics, the policies, the roadmap, the future, all of it. Yeah. So
how many stages right now?
Well, we're in the first stages right now.
Okay, I have another question for you. You say I asked you what gives you the authority to do all of this. You say because we're building something like a government. So the answer to that is basically you have given yourself the authority.
Yeah, but that's what everyone does anyway. So, I mean, where else are you going to get the authority?
Over 8 billion people's lives? You think just because you've given yourself the authority, that gives you the right to kill everyone?
No,
Also,
no. So it's nothing to do with that, right? Yeah, if it was just a random person saying, "Oh, I want the authority to kill everyone," then that would be different, right? But it's not that, is it? This is rational people coming together to decide that suffering is unacceptable and that we shouldn't allow it anymore.
In your opinion, it's rational. Everyone.
Well. Tell me why it's not then. Tell me why we should allow extreme suffering.
You keep dissolving the entirety of humanity into only suffering. You completely ignore the fact that there's people.
Strike one. So you haven't answered that question. You're dodging. So I asked you a question. You just completely ignored it.
I'm explaining why it's not rational. That is.
So let's see if you can actually answer that instead of just dodging and changing subject.
All right. Why are your beliefs not rational? Okay. Because I don't think that humanity only suffers. You're saying
I never said they did. I never said they did. So you're using the classic straw man, which everyone uses, which is that not everybody is suffering.
This entire time you've been using straw man.
No. So you're yapping. So we're going to shut you up for a second. But you've just used the classic straw man, which everybody uses, right? So it's a very well known straw man, right? And it's one that I never say. So he's used the exact same straw man that everybody uses, which is a common psychological phenomenon when it comes to talking about extinction. So he said, oh, but you've said all life is suffering, every person is suffering right now. No, I've never said that, and you would love it if I had said that, so that you could argue against that irrational statement. But I never said that.
I see what you mean. I think it's quite interesting that you're mentioning straw man, because in a bunch of the debates I've seen you doing this before, you tell people...
So you're just going to completely disregard everything I just said?
No, that's straw man.
Yeah, so you're just going to completely disregard everything I just said. So basically what just happened for the audience is that we caught him in an extremely clear-cut straw man, right? Extremely clear-cut, especially because it's the same one that everyone uses. We know about this straw man. We're very accustomed to it at this point, very familiar with it, and very familiar with the complete lack of, validity that it has, right? I've never said all life is suffering, but people want me to say that, right? Even though I don't. Because they would love to argue against that false position. They would love it. They want to argue against a position which I'm not saying. They can't argue against what I am saying, so they instead argue against something stupid which I didn't say, right? They're like, I'm going to imagine him saying something stupid, and then I'm going to argue against that, because I can't argue against what he's actually saying. So that's what you've just done. And when we've confronted you about it, you've just completely dodged and changed subject again. So clearly you're not capable of maintaining any sort of coherent conversation. Okay, moving on. We've got lots of more people in the queue. It's looking good now. The stream is picking up a little bit, actually. So we've got 100 viewers. We've got people in the queue. So this is good. Let's get them on. Let's see who's going to be next. Hello, how you doing?
Hey, not bad. Yourself?
Good, thank you.
Good. So I have a fierce curiosity. I do believe and understand ending all suffering, but my question is, we didn't create all of these existences, though. I'm talking about like the natural life. We are not the creators of it. So what right would we have to end their lives in the process
so
of
it's just about controlling the world, right? Doing the right thing for the world, making the world as good as possible. So everybody has the right to do that, really.
Right. But we're not God, though.
Well, why not? We might as well try to be, though.
Because this movement would take somebody very powerful to really establish this kind of act. Wouldn't you say so?
We're not relying on individuals. We're not relying on individuals. It's a movement. It's a collective.
Okay. So how long do you think this will realistically happen in the future?
We don't care how long it takes. We don't care how long it takes. It's the right thing to do regardless of how long it takes.
Well, on that perspective, then it might seem that it might be impossible to happen, because there's always going to be oppositions and they'll always fight that movement. And
Yeah.
So
We don't have 100% certainty that it's going to work, because we would be cowards if we relied on that. So yeah, it might not work, but it's still the right thing to do.
I hope it does work. But I don't know. It seems like it's a hope that I don't know if it would ever happen, but I wish it would. But
well, we see the thing is that wishing for it to happen actually does the opposite of helping to make it happen. So if you want it to happen, you should actually fight for it, make it happen. If you wish for it and do nothing, then you're actually making it harder for it to happen.
Oh yeah, I like I said, I definitely, like your stance. I believe that all suffering is bad. I don't believe some should be happy and some shouldn't be happy. So I definitely agree with your stance, and I believe in everything you stand for.
Okay, well,
thanks for answering.
Great. Fantastic. Yeah. Well, thank you for coming up. I'll give you a follow, and consider reading our website and joining our Discord and our WhatsApp group. Yeah, it's fantastic to meet people that agree with the end of all suffering. It's shockingly rare, right? It's horrifyingly rare how many people actually support the end of all suffering. So when someone actually does come up and say, yeah, I genuinely do support this, it's a bit like, where's the cameras? Where's the cameras? Who's pranking me? All right, moving on. We have lots more people in the queue to get through. Let's see who's next. We've got Mr. Sparkleman coming up next. Hello, how you doing?
Hello, I'm doing good. How about you?
Yeah, good, thank you.
So I actually was on your like I think it was 2 months back. I was on your stream. And at first I actually didn't really kind of support it. I was kind of wary, but after a bit of thinking, it's it kind of makes sense. Like what you push. Because I look at like if you look at I'm not too sure what country you're in. I think you're in the
England.
Britland. Yeah. But seeing a lot of countries especially with the AI data centers, it's ramping up. Fucking whatchamacallit? Climate change. What are you doing?
What? Nothing.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm not gonna lie, like if a question I had, for the people who don't wanna like go extinct, what would you do? Would you like hustle them down, like hunt them down,
Yeah.
or what? Because I know you said that you want it to be like a forceful thing, or else it won't get done, which was actually a pretty good point. So
Yeah, so look, if
you
they're
hunt them
hiding
down.
under bunkers or something, we will dig them out and get them.
Right. Well, please make it quick for me then, because I'm quite sick of this.
Yeah, I mean, understandable, mate. So that's why we're doing it. We're doing it for you. We're doing it for everyone else that doesn't want to be here, and all of those in the future who will be forced to be here when they don't want to be. And obviously, then you've got all of the animals who are being abused, all of the animals in nature who are, being eaten alive by animals and stuff. I think, empathy for those going through a life of pure hell is very difficult for most people to have, right? But if you do, then you really start to care for animals and humans and everyone going through that sort of horrific experience. Hello, how you doing?
Hey, I was just thinking, can we start with men since they cause the most suffering in the world?
No,
Why?
because you're suggesting discrimination, right? And also men don't really cause most of the suffering. It's usually nature, and most of the suffering in the world is actually animals in nature, right? In the wild. Over 99% of life born on this planet and into the worst conditions with the worst suffering, it's animals in the wild. So that's where most of the suffering is.
No, I'm saying like after the animals go extinct, can't we just start with men?
Well, don't forget that women reproduce, so they cause a lot of suffering as well. So I think equally, we have to do it 50-50, men and women.
Okay, so when you try to achieve this, would this be a gradual extinction or would it be just all in one go?
Yeah, gradual. Like, the thing is, like, so
I'm saying after animals.
it's hard to say, but most likely gradual. Yeah, so it's not going to be like an event or a virus or an asteroid. It's going to be like, picking up trash on the road, except you'll be euthanizing animals or something.
And where do you plan on starting with, like, which people first?
Like I said, we don't really have any sort of hit list or discrimination list like you want. If you're going to do that, then you're going to end up with, the thing is, it's not about discrimination and hatred. You're saying, oh, let's kill the men first because we hate them.
No, but you're saying that's going to be a gradual process. So there is going to be some people that you want to start with first, right? So where would that be? Where in the world?
The thing is, you can't say what the situation is going to be. The thing is, because we'd have to do animals first and stuff, The
I
thing
mean, I
is,
said outside of animals. Say the animals were
but
extinct.
my point is that by the time we get to human extinction, the situation is going to have changed to the point where it's impossible to predict the method for human extinction, right? It's possible that everybody will have a personal assistant robot by then. And, if we do, which is my favorite theory for how it's going to go down, then we would just give the command and it would be like Order 66 from Star Wars. The robots would turn around and be like, got it, right, time for human extinction.
Don't you think there will be the last man standing, though?
Yeah, some of them will run away, but we'll have to hunt them down and chase them and round them up or something. But yeah, it doesn't matter. The method for extinction is like the least important thing about extinction.
But who's going to make the call, though? Wouldn't that be the
It
the
doesn't
last man?
matter. Leave these details for a book or something, right? That's the only reason you should have curiosity for this, right? It's not for any good reason.
Okay.
All right, Goddess, thanks for coming up. And again, I suggest trying to think about all life without discrimination if you can. So don't hate on men specifically. Instead, we should try and love all life, right? Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I can't. I just thought about it.
Okay.
What about the animals that we don't even know about yet? They're like deep, deep, deep in the sea. How are we gonna kill them?
Science, right? We'll just have to look for them.
Bro, we'll just have to look for them, bro. There's ones that like is impossible to find because it's like you die if you go that deep.
Well, yeah, but we've got millions of years to find solutions to that problem.
So you're fine if this happens, like not in your lifetime.
Yeah.
Well,
It would be very selfish to only do the right thing if you can see the result, right? To say, oh, I'm not going to do the right thing if I don't get to see the result.
No, I mean like, well, you're not gonna be able to see it. So like, it's probably never gonna happen if we're being realistic.
Well, I would say that for those who actually care about suffering, it feels a lot more realistic, right? Because it's like, well, this has to happen, and it is the right thing to do.
Yeah, but it's not realistic. Like we
Why
can't.
not?
There's animals we don't even know about, like super, super, super deep in the deep, deep ass ocean.
So why is it unrealistic for millions of years of future advanced science?
No, millions of years in the future, yeah, it'll happen. We'll have
Okay.
the technology, but I don't like.
So what's wrong with that?
I don't know how to say this in not a rude way. Like,
You
why
really think
don't
it would take millions of years? Look, we've had the internet for 30 years, and you think it would take millions?
Hey, you were the one who said millions, and I agreed.
Yeah, but we have
Yeah.
millions of years. I don't think it will actually take millions of years.
All right then, me either. Point made.
Great. And look, we can already start with the animals on the surface. So, look, a lot of people have this mentality that if you can't help everyone, you shouldn't help anyone. But that's a really unhelpful mentality. We should do as much as we can do. Help as many as we can.
But what are you doing? Spreading awareness? Is that all you're doing? What else can we do?
No, we're doing lots of stuff. So, yeah, spreading awareness is the first thing that we do. And then we are also studying other ways to advance the movement as well. So, for example, we will be pushing AI, and potentially we'll be using AI to take over the world. We're also pushing genetics. So we have a reproduction program so that we can have more extinctionist activists. So, for example, we are donating sperm already at the movement, and we'll be having much larger, and we'll be having much larger scale reproduction programs in the future as well, because extinctionism is genetic. The rationality and the empathy is based on genetics. So, yeah, just making videos would be slightly ineffective. Yeah, it still helps, but we have to find other ways to grow the movement and to be successful as well. So we're studying the genetics, pushing that forward. AI, that's going to be a big thing in the future. And we're also pushing psychology as well. So we're studying better and better how to, control humans, how to debate with them. And honestly, the thing is that the difference between extinctionist and non-extinctionist is rationality. That's one of the main components. And so, rational humans are going to be more powerful than irrational humans, essentially. And so, we are extremely confident about the future of extinctionism as humanity is evolving naturally, bit by bit. It's getting smarter and more rational. And that is leading towards extinctionism and caring about ethics and those who suffer, caring about animals more. So the world is getting more ethical in a sense, right? People are starting to think about veganism and ethics and things like that. And part of that is that they're having less urgency to focus on their own problems, right? So 100 years ago, there was less medicine. Work was harsher and much more difficult. So people had less time to think about others and to think about the world and what's right and wrong. So as that gets better, more people are going to think about, put their time towards thinking about the world and what's right and wrong for it. Whereas before, that's not been done very much. And as we have continued to evolve as a species, we'll get smarter as well, which is why extinctionism has come about now. That's a result of evolution. And we can actually see the steps of that evolution throughout history. So you can see the steps of antinatalism and cosmic extinction, for example, throughout the last 100 or 200 years, getting stronger and stronger, resulting finally in ephilism, the voluntary human extinction movement, and then finally progressing towards the pro-extinction movement, like the ultimate final one, basically.
Yeah.
So that is kind of the direction humanity is heading in. And if humanity starts to experiment with improving their own genetics and making themselves more intelligent, then that's also going to lead to more extinctionism as well. So you've got a lot of different forces heading in the right direction for extinction.
Yeah. Okay, one last question. I really like that, by the way. You're very well spoken. I like your view a lot. But you can't like erase every single atom, I don't think, even if we get like so good, bro. Can't like get like this stupid little freaking microscopic bacteria. I feel like we would just evolve again from like a freaking piece of poop. Or like
Well, firstly, you don't know
bacteria.
that. Well, you don't know that, so we should try. And even if the extinction is only partial, it's still better than nothing. So, for example, if we did wipe out all life on Earth and then it did come back, it would still be better that we did that than to leave it. And even if there's only a chance that it's going to come back, what if we're successful, right? So not trying is definitely worse than trying. And we could be successful. And we don't have to vaporize every atom to achieve total extinction. There could be other ways to do it, which are less intensive, essentially.
Yeah,
So we have to leave it to the science to determine all of what is possible.
Yeah, I get you. Well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for coming up.
See ya.
And feel free to join again if you have any more questions. But also consider reading our website. Lots of your questions will be answered on that. We have an extensive FAQ page. We have our manifesto on the website. Hello, how you doing?
Hello. Oh, that's such a good question. How I'm doing what? I am alive. I'm living.
Yeah, how are you doing? And do you have any questions for us?
Yes, for you in particular. Are you a man?
Yeah.
Okay, you are alive?
Sorry?
Are you alive?
Yeah, sounds like you've got some microphone and brain issues there as well. So we're going to see if there's anybody else. We've got Alex, we've got Angela, we've got who else? Right, anybody else wanting to debate? Let's get you in the queue. Let's hear your questions.
Yes, I think it must be better now. Is
Yep,
it better now?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's the microphone. The second question: are you a psychopath or a narcissist, or do you have any personality disorder?
No.
No. Well, you want to end everything.
Yeah, it's out of compassion and ethics and logic, rationality, coherency.
If that would be the case, you would commit unaliving yourself. So
why?
Doesn't make any logic.
Why?
Because you want to end everything. So if
Yeah,
you
so
don't,
that's the
if you're not-
opposite. So you're saying, oh yeah, if you want to end everything, the entire world, then the only way to do that is to kill yourself. So, but that achieves the opposite. So you're being illogical, you're being irrational. And this is, again, further proof of everything I've been saying over the last few months, that humans are scientifically, provably irrational.
But what about the people who don't consent to be unalive? You will go against their consent.
Yeah, why not?
Well, by that law, you could be unalive yourselves. You could be unalive by someone else. 'Cause they
Yeah,
will go
it can
against-
happen at any... Look, a criminal could break into the house and kill me, right? Anything's possible.
Oh, okay, you consent to that then.
No, I don't. But I do consent to it being possible, right? If I didn't consent to anything, then I would have to unalive myself, right? But that's part of the problem, is that when life gets forced to exist in this world, anything can happen to it, right? Any sort of terrible thing can happen, and you can't consent to that before you're born. And even if you could, most people still wouldn't be able to consent to it, because informed consent is actually impossible, right? Especially when you don't know anything about the world, and then you end up suffering worse than you ever thought was possible. Yeah,
I don't see how someone that does not suffer from some kind of psychopathy or narcissist can believe that what you're saying, or even saying it. That only
that's
belongs
understandable.
to
That's understandable.
personality disorder.
That's understandable. The thing is, and this is actually further proof of why extinction is genetic, right? So the genetics required to be an extinctionist require higher rationality and higher levels of empathy than normal. And so this is something which is so foreign to the average human that when they come across somebody who's selfless and rational, they'll say, oh, you must be crazy, you must be a psychopath, you must be insane, because they
strongly
can't
disagree.
actually understand that these correct things...
I strongly disagree, because the way you think is the way the big enterprise, the big millionaire thinks. They want to first analyze the people below them, or what they consider to be below them, by destroying all the environment, all the media, and all biology. And then eventually they will enclose themselves in a small room or a bunker, and they will just pass away.
How many are
so-
doing this? How many billionaires are doing what you've just said? Because I would say zero. I would say that you're not talking.
many.
You're talking nonsense.
No, many. It's just they're not going to tell you this.
Yeah, you're not talking anything serious, dude. Have you got anything better, or should we move on?
Wow, I hit the nail, I guess.
Yeah, you really hit the nail. Sure, you did, buddy.
Oh yeah, I think they let you behind, so to speak. So
Yeah, you're
it's
living in
all-
some dream fantasy where a bunch of billionaires want to kill everyone and then rape people in bunkers, and I missed the boat to join the party, so I'm angry about it, and I'm doing activism for extinction instead. So people create all types of fantasies. He's like you said, you got left behind by the billionaires. So he actually thinks this. He actually thinks that some billionaires want to kill everyone and basically do a Thanos. So he's living in a fantasy. He can't think about this properly. And yeah, we see this all the time. When people try to think about extinction rationally, they can't. They can't. They cannot think about extinction in a logical, rational way. So they end up saying all sorts of crazy things. Hello, how you doing?
I'm well. What about you?
Yeah, good, thanks.
So, I have two main arguments here. The first of all is, like, when I tried to say that it's not justifiable killing a whole society just because some people are suffering right now. And by that, by any mean, I don't mean to diminish the way these people are suffering. But then you said, oh, it's not fair to just because majority is happy with their lives right now, it's not fair to keep those people living. So I think you underestimate the meaning of being alive. You said just because
The meaning.
you have
What
some
is
pleasures.
meaning? What is meaning?
What is the meaning?
Look, I'm here saying we should make child abuse impossible. We should make animal abuse impossible, etc. And your argument is that you're forgetting the meaning.
Yes, I think that everyone, at the happiness of everyone in this planet, overcomes this suffering.
So would you say that there's no amount of suffering which could ever justify extinction?
No, I would not say that.
What do you mean?
I would say that if like 70% of the population is suffering, then I think it's just we fail as a society. We should just like.
So let me ask
Then
you
I would
this:
support
if the only if for the rest of the time, 50% of the population is begging for death, but the other 50% is happy, and this is the only way it can ever be for the rest of time, would you support it?
Yes,
So you think 50% of the population? So you think 50% of the population torturing the other 50% for all of time is a good system?
I'm saying if your
Alex,
reality,
we've got it. You have no serious thoughts to add here, right? You genuinely think that if for the rest of eternity the only option is either extinction or 50% of the population horrifically tortures the other 50%, he would choose torture. He would choose a dystopia. He would choose... So, if the options were like, right, you've got a slave owner who's whipping his slave so badly that the slave is begging for death, right? The slave is... They're not going to be able to have a good life anymore. They can't even... Their eyes are gone. Their lips have been whipped off of their face. They've got no fingers left. So the slave is now begging for death and saying, right, just please kill me. So what Alex would do is he would say, well, look, if for example, the only way to end that slave's suffering is to also kill the slave owner, right? So the slave is saying, please kill me, please, I'm suffering so badly. And the slave owner is going, whoosh, whoosh. No, don't kill me, don't kill both of us. Extinction would be wrong. My pleasure is pretty good right now. I enjoy whipping my slaves. So Alex would go, should I kill the slave owner and put the slave out of his misery? No. Let's support the slave owner and say, you know what, your happiness is more important, so keep whipping that slave for the rest of time, forever, for literally all eternity. So that is, without a single word of exaggeration, that is what Alex would happily support. Right? So if the option is no life exists, or the other option is a slave owner, whipping a slave for all eternity, he would say, yeah, let's torture that slave for all eternity so the slave owner can have some fun. This is the level of morality that humanity has right now. So Alex isn't just a complete piece of shit. He represents humanity in general. Right, they all agree with this position. So we're not singling out Alex here any more than we have to. This is humanity in general. They all have the same opinion. That, yeah, if the choice is between extinction or a slave owner whipping a slave for all eternity, they would choose the happiness and the balance, the joy of the slave owner, right? And say it doesn't matter how bad his victim suffers, the slave owner's happiness is more important, right? So this is what you're supporting. And again, I'm not even exaggerating. He actually said, yeah, I do support that. Hello, how you doing?
Hi, yeah, good, thank you. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Cool. So you're using a lot of numbers. So what percentage of the human population in the world is suffering?
It doesn't matter how many. Even one is too many.
So if 1% is suffering, you would kill the other 99% because 1% is suffering. That would be just in your view.
Is that how the world works?
Not really.
Yeah, exactly. So you're straw manning. You're arguing against.
Not really. Numbers are quite important. The other thing you just said is that
you're arguing. I'm going to have to mute you because you're yapping, right? So you're arguing against a false version of reality, right? Where it is possible to just make all of the pedophiles go extinct, right? So in this fantasy that you want to argue against, right? You can just make all of the pedophiles go extinct, and that's it. There'll be no more suffering ever again. No pedophiles will be born ever again. So you're literally it's a massive straw man, basically, a gigantic straw man. The idea that you can just kill all of the sufferers that exist today, and that's it. Suffering is solved forever. It's stupid.
Am I unmuted yet? I can't work it out.
Yeah.
So another thing you said, when you give the slave owner,
do you want to address anything I just said?
Yes. So if it doesn't take any, sorry, no, I'm not going to ignore it. I don't agree with the idea that if 1% of any group of people are suffering, you have to kill the other 99.
How many is too many?
Well-run societies and lots.
So that's strike one. That's strike one. You've dodged the question now. You've dodged a lot of questions actually. So we'll put you on strike one. So how many is too many?
But you don't.
So that's strike. Okay, that's strike two. You're still trying to dodge the question. So how many? You've said 1% is not too many. That's fine. So how many is too many?
I don't know. 3.2576.
So why?
Because you're forcing me to make up a number. By you use this strike
system. I'm saying no amount of suffering is okay. You're saying that there is an amount which is okay. So I'm just asking you what amount that is.
But nobody could quantify that number. You've quantified it as 0.
You've said there is a certain amount of suffering.
No,
that's okay.
Because you're forcing me to say a number.
These are your words. You've said a certain amount of suffering is okay. So
no, I didn't say that.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
I'm telling you, no suffering is okay. So
I agree.
Said
no
a
suffering.
Certain amount is. Can you tell us how much?
Oh, just never mind.
So you would rather just. So yeah, this is how humans work. Like this guy, right? They don't want to have to care about suffering, right? They don't want to have to put any thought into it. So they would rather just pretend, just not care it exists. And when we say, look, this suffering isn't acceptable, right? They're like, well, I don't want to think about it, basically. And I'm like, well, look, is 99% of people begging for death? Is that okay? Let's try and think about it. And he's like, oh, I don't want to think about it. The thing is, right, he wants to just justify all of the extreme suffering in the world, to allow it, and to just never think about it, right? But as soon as you're like, look, dude, this suffering isn't okay. Look, let me try and show you. Like, look, think about it. If 99% were begging for death, would that be okay? Well, no. Okay. But you think 1% is okay, right? So how many is too many? So look, if you're going to say child abuse is fine, it's part of life, it's part of the balance, right? If 1% are being abused as children, who cares? Then I think it does make sense, right? Because look, I'm saying no amount of suffering is acceptable. Just child abuse? No. None. 0. Right? Lives of pure hell? No. 0. No amount of cruelty and lives of hell are acceptable. But if you want to say, yes, some extent is acceptable, and that is, he's denying that he said this, but he did say that a certain amount is acceptable, then you should have to provide that number, right? So I'm saying no amount of suffering is acceptable. No amount of bad lives or lives of pure hell are acceptable. So the alternative position is essentially, you know what? Who cares? Any amount is acceptable. Just infinite suffering is acceptable. But really, this is a position of just not wanting to deal with the fact that suffering exists, right? It's an inconvenience for these people, right? It's an inconvenience. That's all it is to them. It's like, oh, what? Disallow suffering? Oh my God, what? The sufferers are complaining again. Those selfish sufferers. What about my pleasure? So that's how these people think. And when it's like, oh, can we stop allowing suffering, please? They're like, oh my God, you selfish bastard. What about my pleasure, right? And it's like, well, look, the suffering's not fair. And they're like, oh, it's just a minority. Who cares? If it's 1% or 3.25%, then it's just a minority. It's not everybody suffering. So fuck them. Who cares if they suffer? This is the mentality. I'm not exaggerating. Like this is actually the truth of what is going on in their heads, right? They just don't give a flying fuck if anyone suffers or if everybody suffers. So that's why they say, oh, it's not everyone, right? Because the only way that they would agree that suffering should end is if you force them to, right? Because it's an inconvenience. So, like, think of it this way. There's a bully on a school bus, right? And he's going to a school trip to the aquarium, and he's actually been looking forward to this. But then one of the kids on the bus says, I'm feeling really sick. I need a hospital. Like, I think I'm actually dying. The bully would say, don't stop the bus. It wouldn't be fair on me. Right? So then two people on the bus get sick and say, please stop the bus. I'm sick. The bully would say, it's not everybody. It's not everybody that's sick. So no, that would be unfair. You can't stop the bus. It would be unfair. What about my pleasure? I want to go to the aquarium. So then three people now say, I'm sick. Please stop the bus. Like, please, I'm feeling really sick. I need help. The bully would say, it's a minority. It's less than 50%. It's less than 50% of the kids on the bus. So it's not fair for us. We want to go to that aquarium. Who cares? A little bit of, that's life. That's balance, right? So then four people on the bus start saying, look, we're really sick now. This is spreading. We need help. We need a doctor. The bully would still say, it's not everybody, right? You're being selfish. It's unfair for us to stop the bus so you can see a doctor. We want to go to the aquarium. So then finally, 50% of the kids are saying, please, we're feeling really sick. Stop the bus. Please, we need a doctor. The bully would still say, what about my pleasure? I've been waiting for this aquarium for weeks and weeks, right? It's not fair. And look, 50% of the bus is still fine. So, you can't just rule out all the pleasure in life just because some people are sick. So then, eventually, everyone on the bus is saying, please stop the bus, please. We're all feeling sick. At this point, the bus driver is now feeling sick as well, and the bully has punched him out of the seat, and now the bully is driving the bus. So the bus driver, the teachers, the kids, they're all saying, please stop the bus, we're sick. We need, just drive us to a hospital. And the bully's like, no, it's not everybody. It's not everybody suffering. So that would be unfair on me. We're still going to the aquarium. Beep, beep. Right? And then finally, the bully gets sick as well. Right? But at this point, he's arrived at the aquarium. So everyone is sick and everyone's at the aquarium. And the bully says, well, what if someone starts feeling better? What if one of the kids starts to feel better, right? It would be unfair on them to go to the hospital and cancel this trip to the aquarium. So this is the mentality that people have, right? They just don't care. They want the bus to keep going, even if 99% fall sick, even if everybody falls sick. So this is unfortunately the way what life works. And it's irrational, right? Obviously that bully is being irrational. So, but that's the exact same mentality that people are bringing when it comes to life. They're saying, yeah, if 99% are, being tortured, well, it would be unfair on me to stop torturing them, right? So people have twisted the idea of fairness itself to mean anything that I disagree with. So, you can literally take this to ridiculous levels and say, well, what if 99% of the population is begging for death? Would you agree with total extinction then? And they'll still say, no, that would be unfair to the 1%. So, yeah, fairness obviously doesn't work like that. Fairness works on, well, basically, if we have to have zero happiness for there to be zero harm, then that's how fairness works, right? So, yeah, you cancel the trip to the aquarium and there'll be zero happy kids having fun at the aquarium, but the kids who are sick will get help, basically, right? They won't have to suffer and be sick without help. But yeah, the bullies would say, well, that's unfair. It's their fault they're sick. We shouldn't help them. What about us? So this is the exact same mentality when it comes to life, right? People are going through lives of pure hell, and the bullies of our world say, well, it wouldn't be fair on me if I had to care about them, right? It's like a billionaire. It's like Elon Musk saying, no, it would be unfair to tax me, right? You want to take my money away and give it to other people? That would be unfair. So, yeah, it's like slave owner again, right? Slave owners would say ending slavery would be unfair to me. So people just don't understand what fairness means. Fairness means nobody is suffering horrifically so that others can have unnecessary pleasure, right? Nobody needs to be alive. It's unnecessary. Nobody needs to be happy. It is just unnecessary, right? You can do without it. It doesn't need to exist. So, yeah, lives of hell, that's unfair. People having fun at the expense of others having lives of hell, that's unfair. How do you make this system fair? You make it so that nobody is suffering, even if the expense is nobody having fun, which, again, is unnecessary. So you've got unnecessary fun being used at the expense of people being tortured, right? This is obviously unfair. So obviously the torture is unfair, and the only way to make it fair is for there to be no life, right? But people are so scared of that idea that they would rather say that torture is fair and that no life existing would be unfair. So the very idea of fairness itself has been turned upside down by these people, right? It is like a slave owner saying ending slavery would be unfair to me, right? It is the exact same thing. Ending slavery would be unfair to me, the slave owner, right? That's exactly what you're saying if you're saying ending suffering would be unfair to me, the happy person.
Oh,
Alex,
hello. Hello, you didn't let me finish last time, but I'm going to get to another argument right now. But I just want to say that you misinterpreted what I said when we were talking later. I said that if 50% of the population was suffering, I would support your movement. I think you didn't understand
Alex,
what I said.
it was very clearly put to you, and you said, yeah, I would support the suffering continuing.
No, I didn't. You can check your video later.
Okay.
But,
so you wouldn't support 50% being tortured. What about 49%?
Let me establish a limit here. I think 40%. Yes, 40.
So for billions of years, the majority will be torturing.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but can I just go to my second point right now? We've been discussing this.
Okay.
So let's think of if there's extraterrestrial life.
Actually, no. I want to stay on the first point. So why exactly 40%? And is it not just that it feels better, right? So when we're deciding if we should allow child abuse and lives of pure hell, I just want to demonstrate that, what goes into deciding who should be safe or not for you comes down to it's just how I was feeling at the time.
I'm not talking about people who are suffering. I'm saying that I think that if 40 more or than 40% of the population suffering or not supported your movement, I would probably support it too.
Yeah, so it's not based on anything serious. It's just emotions, basically.
No, not at all.
But it's out. So why 40%?
because then I would see that we as humans fail as a society, and then I would agree to terminate our existence.
So 39% of the population is begging for death, and you can just ignore them easily. It's only when it gets to 40% that it's like,
the 40% is just a
maybe we should
placeholder. That's not a. You get it, like.
Yeah, a placeholder for stupidity, basically, right?
Not in my view.
A placeholder for a complete moral bankruptcy, right? And the thing is, the reason why you are completely morally bankrupt, Alex, is that your morality depends on appearances, right? It's like, oh, this looks bad, so let's not allow it. But if we can hide it away and it's less than 40%, it's behind closed doors, then now it's fine. So this is the mentality that allows all of the suffering in today's society, right? The sufferers are behind closed doors, right? The child abuse is behind closed doors. The animal slaughterhouses are out in the countryside, right? All of the wild animal suffering is out there in nature. We've built this, palace of, civilization for ourselves, essentially to hide all of the suffering and to make ourselves feel less guilty about it, right? So Alex is demonstrating the exact same complete moral bankruptcy. So think of it this way, right? So the bully on the school bus, right? So he's sat next to a kid, and so one kid starts getting sick, and the bully says, no, it would be unfair on me in the Aquarius trip. But he says to the kid next to him, yeah, I want you to say the same as me, right? I want you to say, who cares about that sick kid? Who cares? It's unfair on us. Let's keep going to the aquarium. So then it gets to 40% of kids now sick on the bus. And the bully is still saying to the kid next to him, look, keep supporting me. Keep saying it's unfair to stop the bus, right? I want to go to that aquarium. I don't care how many kids suffer. But the kid next to him now is Alex. And the kid now says, oh, 40% of the kids on the bus are suffering, dude. I can't do this anymore. I can't keep supporting this, right? I'm going to look like an asshole. So that is the reality of Alex's morality, right? His ethics. It's what can I get away with, basically? What can appearances afford? So that's why, 50% is a bit of an ugly number, right? Yeah, if 50% of the population is torturing the other 50%, that's a bit ugly. But if it's 60% torturing 40%, hey, maybe they deserve it, right? The 60% has decided, so maybe it's for a good reason. So that's essentially how morality works for a lot of humans. It is just, well, what does the majority say? And, can we oppress the minority without it looking too badly, right? So if it's 40% that we're torturing, yeah, well, it's at least it's the minority, right? And that's it. That's all the excuse they need. To torture 40% of the population, the only justification Alex would need is, yeah, well, it's just a minority. So who cares? So that's it. So the victims who are being tortured, begging for help, it's so unimportant. It's so like frivolous to torture them. It's like, oh well, it's just a minority. So that's all it takes, right? To torture 40% of the population, you don't need a great justification or good reasoning or some serious logic. Just it's just a minority. So that is the respect that the minority gets. It's, well, who cares? You're a minority. Anything can happen to you, and I don't have to care. You're the minority. If the majority says it's wrong, then I'll agree, because the majority can kill me if they want, right? But if I'm in the majority, then I'm safe, right? The minority can't attack me. They can't overwhelm the majority. So it's really about like cruelty and getting away with it. So Alex is really on the team that Alex is with the bully, basically. Alex supports the bully as long as they can get away with it. But Alex knows that if he supports more than 40% of kids on the bus being sick, that his mum's going to get angry at him, basically. So he wouldn't do that. But he can say, "Oh, Mum, it was only a minority on the bus, so who cares if they suffer?" And now it's ethical. Now it's good somehow. Hello, how you doing?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I was just wondering because I spoke to a guy that was following your teachings apparently on TikTok, and I don't necessarily disagree with your position of extinctionism. Jesus. But I wonder, I have some moral questions, but also some like you're stating for forceful total extinction. How would you like implement this? How would you do this task in reality?
So we'll be doing it with science and technology. When it comes to animals, we'll be euthanizing them, potentially with gas or something. But the method isn't really important. It's really just getting enough people who are going to agree with any method, right? So, if people are going to say, well, I support this method, but not that method, then they don't actually care about helping the victims. They don't care about ending suffering. So we have to be prepared to do whatever method is necessary.
Okay, so even if that includes active killing of people?
Yeah.
Like, if are you only considering euthanasia, or is, for example, picking up a gun and ending someone with a gun just because they're suffering also a justification in your case?
Well, look, we'll use the best methods possible. But for example, if someone's running away, then yeah, we might have to shoot them in the back.
Okay, so what do you think of the people that just decide to pick up a gun and shoot someone randomly in the street just because they, for example, don't like the race, or they think, oh, we're suffering, so I'm gonna lash out my punishment on them? Is that morally seen to you as a bad thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is, even though you're also causing active extinction, or is it meant with the intent? Is your position purely based on intent alone?
Well, look, if you're against violence, then yeah, you should make violence impossible, even if it requires violence to do so.
Okay, so you're essentially trying to fight fire with fire, like the tolerance, the paradox of intolerance.
No, it's not really fighting fire with fire. Extinction doesn't actually cause any suffering. So for the majority of recipients of extinction, it's going to be painless.
Okay, but so you're having jurisdiction over the people who will disagree with you and causing them active suffering, trying to cause extinction in people who disagree with your stance would still cause active suffering by means of killing them. Like,
yeah, but it prevents more than it causes.
Okay, so your opinion is that at least more people are suffering than people are happy, because that's what you're essentially stating.
No, even one person suffering would be too many. Even if nobody is suffering, but it could happen in the future, we should still do extinction.
Yeah, but you're saying we're using the euthanasia or the killing of people to prevent the suffering. That is not causing suffering. How is that not causing suffering if, for example, someone's family member...
Look, in some fringe cases, it might cause a little bit of suffering, but that's fine, right? It still prevents more than it causes.
Okay, but now you're saying a little bit of suffering is fine if it's for a good cause. Why you just said even one...
It's not good enough. If I said a bit of suffering is good for a good cause, which I didn't say, right? I didn't say that. Then that would just allow anything, right?
No, but if you cause a little suffering for the pro-extinction, you said, then that is fine. But you just said even a little bit of suffering is bad. So why even the little bit of suffering you're stating? Since when is that not bad? You're contradicting.
It's bad, but it's the lesser of two evils.
And how is it the lesser of two evils if you're killing people versus letting them live?
Because if you let them live, they'll suffer. So to protect them from suffering, that's the better choice.
Okay, so what is your moral definition of people suffering?
negative experiences, but we don't really need definitions, right? We know that there are people and animals having lives of pure hell where they would be better off not being born. So it's not fair, and we should prevent that.
But everyone, so you're stating everyone inherently suffers once in their life, twice in their life, whatever in their life, everybody.
You're making the classic straw man. So it doesn't have to be everybody, right? Not everybody is suffering at all times, but
I'm not saying
again, even one person suffering is too many.
I know. I'm not saying that. I'm saying everyone faces some type of suffering through their life.
How's that relevant?
Because it's relevant, because you're trying to make the moral justification to euthanize people, comparing it to the happiness, for example, that life also brings. So without suffering, there is no happiness. Without happiness, there is no suffering. That is just like the well-known paradox.
Yeah, that's not a paradox. You're just stating gibberish at this point, right? It's very obvious that
it's
you
a
can't
well-known paradox. Without suffering, there is no happiness. Without happiness,
but that's not an argument. That's just a obvious fact that everybody in the audience is aware of. You're not educating anybody with anything new.
I'm not educating anything. I'm stating a point, because you're
stating the obvious.
I'm not stating the obvious.
Okay, that's it. You're finished. You're done. You're out of here. You're stating the obvious as if it's an argument. Like coming up here and saying, if you get rid of all of the suffering, there'll be no happiness. It's like, no shit. No shit. Like, do you really think anybody benefited from you saying that, right? That's literally because he has no argument. So he's just going to start stating the obvious instead.
Yeah.
Hello, how you doing?
Yeah, so do you have an argument for the prompt here?
Yeah, allowing suffering is unfair and wrong, and we shouldn't allow it.
Okay, good. So do you think we should use any means to end suffering?
No.
Okay, so what are the means that we should use to stop suffering? Is it euthanasia? Like, what should we do?
So we're going to be using euthanasia and then prevention of life as well. So making the world uninhabitable.
Gotcha. So like for new babies that are born, you would think it's a good thing if we like euthanize those babies, right? Because presumably those babies are gonna, suffer. That they might cause a lot of suffering.
Well,
in
the thing
future.
is that we need more humans temporarily until we've done animal extinction first. So
Right.
when it
So,
comes
like,
to human extinction in the future, we'll be putting everything down.
Yeah. So puppy euthanasia, right? Like you're okay with that in the future?
But do you understand the idea of total extinction?
Well, that doesn't answer my question though. Like I'm saying, are you okay with puppy euthanasia in the future? Like, okay, good. And if you're okay with puppy euthanasia in the future, you're presumably okay with newborn euthanasia as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're okay with newborn euthanasia, you're also okay with like adult human euthanasia, right?
Yeah.
Wow. You're fucking morally deprived. Holy shit.
Again, no counter argument then. So just stating
That's just an absurdity.
stating the obvious. So just stating some facts. Just stating some facts.
I can give
the
you the
obvious
counter
as if that's an
I
argument.
can give you the counter argument. The counter argument.
Right. So yeah, no counter argument. Look, guys, don't come up here and just say, "Wow." So you would take away all suffering, even if it means taking away all happiness. And it's like, yeah, wow, goodbye. Your indignification is not an argument, right? Saying, "Oh wow," that's not an argument, right? So do better, guys. Look, just say that would be wrong because of X, Y, and Z. That would be infinitely better, right? Just come on, guys, for the love of God. Like, how many people? 9 out of 10 guests debating today have come up and just not been able to argue. Just no counter argument, no logic, no assertion, nothing. Like one guy came up and said, "This is really stupid." And I was like, "So what's your argument?" And he said, "I don't have one." And it's like, guys, come on. If you really think extinction is wrong, tell me why. Tell me why. Just give me a reason. That's all I'm asking. Just tell me why extinction would be wrong. Don't just come up and say, "Wow, this is crazy." Give me a reason why it's crazy, right? I can say, "Wow, allowing life to exist is crazy." And how disappointing would that be, right? There'd be nothing for you to work with there.
Hey, James.
Hello.
Oh, one sec, my music's playing. Right, there we go, aside. Damn, you've been struggling with debates today.
Yeah. Do you have any counter arguments?
You know I'm always up for a good counter argument, James. But, you let me on earlier. I'm glad you let me on. So, we'll start off this, right? So, is your mother for or against this cause?
Neutral, but probably against it.
Yeah,
Probably
so she's
against it.
got an unbiased opinion. She respects that you have your own beliefs.
Well, I've not really spoken to her about it. To be honest, she's probably against it.
So, when are you wanting to break the ice on that subject with her?
Well, my parents just don't really want to talk about it for some reason.
Do you reckon they're going to see you online one day?
They don't have TikTok.
Oh, damn. Do we have no? But do we have other forms of social media?
Yeah.
So you never know, because you are aiming to be prime minister, as you say, for this cause. So that will obviously get you some sort of media attention. You got to be planning ahead for things like this. But so let's talk about suffering, James. Sorry,
would extinction be good?
In my opinion, no, obviously not. But in yours, yes. In retrospect,
so why would it be bad?
Because I believe you say suffering is the reason for all of this. This is why you want to end all forms of life. But like I say every time, James, that is only you acknowledging the suffering. There is disgusting things that go on in this world right now, but all you're doing is acknowledging it. You aren't living through all the suffering. And like I say, right, there will be a child. There will be a child.
Do you think getting people together to make it stop is as lowly as acknowledging it?
Mumbai on his deathbed from some sort of fatal disease, right? And if you asked him the question, "Do you want to live?" What do you think he's gonna say? He's gonna say no.
What if we asked him?
Bring the end to civilization.
What if we asked him? Do you want to live at the expense of children being abused?
What do you mean at the expense, so James?
Yeah. What if we included the whole picture? You know, the actual reality of living. Yeah. Instead of just saying, "Do you want to live?" Do you want to live in a world of child abuse?
No, the example I'm trying to put forward, James, is
look. You can ask people, misleading questions and get silly answers. Of course you can, but it's not good, right? Do you want to live in a world of suffering? That's what you should be asking him. A world of cruelty. Hello, how you doing, Erin?
Question is, do you think school shootings are justified because it seems like you have the same psychology behind it? They hate the world so much that instead...
So I don't hate the world and I don't support violence or mass shootings. We need more humans. The more humans, the better. So for every extra human we have, it prevents millions of wild animals from existing and suffering terribly as we take their space, their habitat, their land, right? Knocking down forests. So for every extra human, it actually prevents suffering in the world. And for every extra human, we get closer to doing animal extinction and total extinction. So the more humans we have, the more scientists, the more powerful our species will be. The bigger the species, the more powerful it is, especially as we continue advancing our science and technology. So for every extra human, there's less suffering in the world and there's more ability to end all suffering as well. So school shootings, or even just killing animals in a forest, this doesn't really contribute towards extinction because they just get replaced. So extinction has to be done intelligently in a way that specifically, it's organized, right? So a school shooting doesn't contribute towards that at all. All right. And so, think violence like that actually goes against extinction because it makes the world more unstable, more chaotic and more violent. And that makes it harder to do a proper extinction for animals scientifically.
Hello,
how you doing?
Oh yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Cool. I actually kind of agree with you, but only on a certain level. I don't believe all life should go extinct, but I do believe that humans overall have created enough negativity in the world and sort of destroyed the world to a point where the world would be better off if we
See,
weren't.
you're making a mistake here, because the world doesn't have feelings, right? So the planet is not something that should be cared about in of itself, right? To care about the planet, instead of caring about animals and living beings, is to care about a rock instead of to care about something like a child asking for help. It's a level of insanity that is beyond comprehension for me personally. But yeah, animals don't deserve to suffer, just as humans don't deserve to suffer. And so unless we do a total extinction for them, there will always be horrifically terrible lives where they're forced into a life of pure torture. And the more you learn about how bad that suffering can be, the more obvious it is that it's not acceptable, it's not fair, and we have to help those who are suffering.
Yeah, I mean, like, I remember watching like a nature documentary, and it was like penguins who were like trapped at the bottom of like an ice sort of like a snow pit thing, and there was no way of them getting out.
And
Like,
they dug them out. I saw it.
Yeah, they did get out in the end, but that's because the humans sort of had to help them. So I do see where you're coming from, because obviously, with my idea, if it was only humans who were to go extinct, then we wouldn't be there to help stuff like that happen. And obviously, that kind of thing already happens anyway.
Well, much worse than that happens. So for 99% of animals, they get eaten alive before adulthood. So much worse things than being trapped in an ice pit, right? So the majority, the most common experience for animals is being eaten alive. So yeah, extinction would definitely help them.
Okay, I'm not entirely sure about forced extinction. I feel like we're on the way to sort of sort of sending ourselves into.
Well, we have to use
anyway.
force to defend the victims from suffering. Otherwise, force will be used against them to make them suffer.
Okay, fair enough. All right, thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Stephen. Feel free to come up again if you have any more questions, or check our website, proextinction.com. You can learn quite a lot through it. Right, the queue is now empty again, so if anybody else has any questions or wants to debate, feel free to come up. As always, I warn you, there is no argument against extinction. And really, most people that disagree with extinction, they just don't understand how extreme and terrible suffering can be, right? They've either never experienced it, or they've never empathized with it. They've never really cared about it or thought about it. But that's actually kind of the reality of the situation, is that most people don't think about these things. They don't like to. It's depressing. Hello, how you doing?
Hey, I just wanted to say that I read the manifesto yesterday, and I really liked your cause, and just to keep up, and that's it.
Oh, thank you. I'll give you a follow back. Yeah, consider joining the movement, join our Discord, join our WhatsApp group. Even if you aren't ready to start doing activism immediately, if you join our Discord and WhatsApp, you can be seeing how the movement works. You can be, watching all of the activists, brainstorming and helping each other make videos. We have about 100 activists in the movement now making videos on various platforms. And you can check that out very easily by going on our website and going on the page social media channels on our website. We have a page on the website where you can see all of our different activists on different platforms. So all of our people on Instagram, we've got like 30 people on TikTok, we've got people on YouTube, Facebook, other platforms as well. So the movement is growing quite a lot. And yeah, it is worth checking it out and actually seeing that. So again, unfortunately, nobody in the queue right now. A lot of people in the chat, happy to criticize me, but won't say it to my face. So come on, join the queue. Let's get you on the stage. Let's hear your opinion. And try and start by saying extinction would be wrong because, right? Let's hear an actual argument. Don't just say, this is stupid. Tell me why extinction's wrong. Hello, how you doing?
Hey, good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
So, you believe in extinction. Would you be the first to volunteer to be extinct along with your family?
Yeah.
You would? So, after that, what if the movement dies out and then you just don't get to see what you created?
Well, that's why it doesn't work that way. So we have to run the world as a government. We have to start doing animal extinction first before human extinction. So yeah, all of these questions are going to be, answered intelligently in the future. Like how's the last person going to go, for example? That's not really
Right.
something we need to worry about right now.
So, do you believe in God?
No.
That's unfortunate because you're going against His perfect design.
Yeah,
What
but
if the afterlife?
his design includes child abuse, right? So we have to go
No,
against
no,
that.
no, no.
Yeah.
His design doesn't.
It does include it, right? You can't say that God is so ignorant that he didn't realize there would be child abuse.
That is from another spirit.
Right. So God had no idea. God had no idea what was going to happen. And some other spirit is more powerful.
No,
Look,
it's something that He allows.
Look, mental gymnastics doesn't even begin to describe what must be going on in the heads of religious people, right? But look, they have no choice but to try and find a justification for all of the horrific abuse and suffering in the world. So their monkey brains suggest, well, maybe God did it, right? Maybe God has a good reason for this. But he doesn't. It doesn't exist. Hello.
Hey, what's up? It's me again. I know we've done this in the past. I don't know what else to say, but
tell me, Marlian, would extinction be good or bad?
The people are asking for this. It would be a very bad idea.
For who?
For life, because
No,
life.
but for who in particular? So life isn't a person, right? Life doesn't have any sort of feelings.
Life.
So who would extinction be bad for?
For fucking life, dude. What the fuck do you think life is?
Or without exception?
Well, you want me to tell you a specific person? Is that what you fucking want?
No, I'm saying. So you're saying extinction would just be bad for life, all life, right?
Yes.
So every life form would be disserviced by it.
Yes. And
So,
I mean, first of all,
those in
what makes
lives
you
of hell, they would be detrimented by extinction.
It's silly that you can even pretend to imagine
Dude,
that
that's
you
strike
can
one.
achieve
So
this.
that's strike one, Marlian.
No. Go ahead. Tell me your stupid question. Yeah. What was it?
So you're saying that those who don't want to live, those who are being tortured horrifically, etc., those who are begging for death would not benefit from extinction. That's what you're saying.
You can quit anytime, dude.
Okay,
If you're
so that's
suffering that
strike
bad,
two, or is it strike three now?
I answered your stupid fucking
So that's
question.
either strike two. We'll call it strike three. So
you can quit.
You're on.
If you really want to quit, just
strike
quit it.
four is
I mean,
coming
if
up
you're
next.
that
So let's see if you
miserable,
can answer it.
if you're so miserable, just fucking, just fucking.
Okay,
end
so
it.
this is what happens, guys. This is what happens when you try to debate against extinction. Essentially, because it's such a rational and logical and obviously correct position, the only way to debate against it is to get desperate, to be dishonest, to be sneaky, right? To lie, to be to scheme, to gaslight, right? So you ask a simple question that completely defeats their entire argument, and they just won't answer it. And so it's like strike one. Are you going to answer that question? Nope. Strike two. Are you going to answer that question? Nope. Strike three. Are you going to answer that question? Strike four. Okay, you're done. Forget it. So look, think of it this way. If somebody said to me, James, look, I'm going to leave unless you answer this question. James, I'm putting you on strike one. You didn't answer my question. James, that's strike two, James. Look, you can say I'm gaslighting James, but you haven't answered my question. That's strike three, James. I'm going to... Please do that, guys. Please, right? I'm begging you to do this, right? I want you to debate against me properly, right? And yeah, if I'm dodging a question, hold me to account. Absolutely. But if you dodge a question, yeah, I am going to hold you to account. The thing is, right, is that like people come up here for a debate. And when I say, right, well, this is why extinction is right, or I ask a question that basically proves it, they'll just forget I asked it, just dodge it. And you had the person like an hour ago that just completely wasn't listening. Now, the reality is that 100% of all of this bad behavior is not their fault, right? It's because of essentially a system in the brain which prevents them from being rational. So it's a bit like a marionette system where it's like it's making them be irrational. It's like, hey, we'll have them say this crazy thing, we'll have them say that crazy thing, so that they stay unintelligent. Now, the thing is, and this is all very difficult to wrap your head around, but the biological truth is that essentially the system in the brain, which again is trying to maintain survival and reproduction, it specifically relies on suppressing intelligence itself and keeping people unintelligent. And so any thought that's going to lead to more intelligence or to adopting a more rational position or a more intelligent position or idea, it will be suppressed, right? So that is why they dodge questions. Okay, this is exactly why they dodge it. It is because their brain does not let them answer that question. It doesn't even let them think about it. Because if they were to think about it, then essentially they would realize they're wrong. Okay, so it's hiding the truth from people and it's not letting them think about it, right? That's also why this actually explains everything. So for example, it explains the whole but morality is subjective thing, or can you prove that suffering is bad? It's because it's obviously a stupid thing to ask, right? Why would you need to prove that child abuse is bad? But the thing is that they're not actually, this isn't what they actually think, right? They're not actually thinking that, you need to prove child abuse is bad. It's that their brain isn't letting them think about this properly. So the only thing it can do is to make them think about it in a stupid way. So it specifically directly prevents them from thinking about it correctly and normally, and makes them go into some sort of philosophy bro type of thinking, where nothing makes any sense, everything's upside down, common sense is not allowed. So yeah, this is stuff that I've been studying for the last year, well actually the last 7 years. But yeah, a video on this would be interesting to watch for sure. So I might do that. Hello, how you doing?
Hi. I just wondered what you think the point of this campaign for extinction is really, because around about 99% of all species on Earth have gone extinct in the Earth's history. So our extinction is pretty much nailed on at some point, probably in the near future.
Well, see, the thing about those animals going extinct is that they just get replaced by other ones. So it has to be a total extinction. So the fact that 99% of animals have gone extinct doesn't mean anything. It just doesn't matter, because they've just been replaced by other animals and other species.
We're just one planet in a universe of planets. And there's probably lots and lots of other life out there. So we're probably going to need to delete the universe in order to fully, achieve the aim.
Well, the aim is simply to do as much as we can. So it's the opposite. If we manage to delete the universe, then that would be great. If we could do more than that, great. If we can only do something less than that, then that's what we have to do.
I've been on your live for a few minutes. I heard that bit about you want more humans, because more humans would mean there'd be less suffering for animals.
Yeah.
But humans eat animals, so wouldn't we have more animals as well?
Well, if you look at the whole picture, the bigger picture, then the suffering from eating animals pales in comparison to the suffering of wild animals. So actually, as it stands, if you take down a forest which has 1 billion animals, and you use it to farm 1,000 animals or 1 million animals, then it's a massive reduction in suffering. So even if we're still eating animals and it is horrible and we should make that all go extinct, it's actually less suffering than the alternative, which is wild animals. So for example, there are 100 quintillion wild animals which die each year on Earth, whereas there's only 100 billion farmed animals which die each year on Earth. So, and 50% of the planet's surface is being used for agriculture, whereas it used to be forests. 50% of the planet. So imagine if all of the animal agriculture disappeared, the forests would double and the wild animal suffering would double as well.
So basically, you're looking for complete order up to a point where you have enough order to make a total extinction. Is that what you're looking for? Because obviously the rest of the world is, nature, for example, just moves towards chaos. The whole universe moves.
Yeah, so make the entire universe uninhabitable, basically. That's basically the plan.
Yeah, I can't see that ever being achievable.
Well, again, it's not really the universe, it's just as much as we can. So if Earth is as much as we can, then that's fine. But if we can do beyond it, then we should.
Yeah, we're likely all just going to get wiped out by an asteroid at some point, or a big volcano.
we shouldn't look for excuses when it comes to trying to do the responsible thing. We should just do it.
Yeah. You've got your point of view, and I just feel like it's pretty pointless. I just don't think you're going to be able to.
So helping those who suffer is pointless. Are they a joke to you?
No.
Are the children being abused a joke to you?
No. I will help
pointless.
Anyone.
Not a single point.
No.
Ending all suffering. Pointless.
No, we should strive for it as a species. Definitely should strive for it, and I think
What's
it's
the
possible.
point? It's pointless.
No. I think it is possible. I think that on a long run of time, we're all going extinct. But I do think it is possible to end suffering in the world.
How?
Well, suffering is on a long run presently ending. We now have far less suffering.
No, we don't.
Than we did.
No, we have far more, actually.
Why? Why far more? Where do you get your reference point
because
from?
As humanity has grown, it's
no.
There are more sufferers.
Humans have gone from wild animals to we're not civilized yet, but we're increasingly civilized.
100 million humans probably suffered terribly when that was the population, but now there's like 9 billion.
No.
So
I don't.
we have many more sufferers.
I don't agree with that. I think that humans are becoming increasingly more civilized. I think that we are. Obviously, the world's a crazy place, and there's lots of violence going on over time. But it's not anywhere nearly as bad as in ages past.
Well, it is for wild animals.
We were constantly.
It is for animals, though. So for over 99% of the population on our planet, right, the conditions have never improved. So they've always been the worst suffering, and they've never changed.
Nature is chaotic. 99.9% of all species of animals on this planet have become extinct in the 4.5 billion years that the planet's been around.
Because they've just been replaced.
They've just been replaced.
Yeah, that's how evolution works. One species goes extinct.
I'm well aware of how evolution works.
Well, you're obviously not.
No, I am.
No, you think that a species going extinct means that there's no life there anymore. That's not how it works. It just gets replaced by other life.
No.
Anyway, Nostrobobos, I suggest you study and actually learn about this, because you obviously are very lacking on that. Hello, how you doing?
Hey, hello, James. Just a quick question. To pick your brain here, I was wondering, what do you think of the double slit experiment?
Is that the quantum physics one?
Yeah, basically, well, like that we're in a simulation. Do you believe in that, or
no?
No. Okay.
And even if we were in a simulation, then we should still do the right thing.
Okay, so the scientists say that they say that life, that we're like in a dream, and when you have a nightmare, you wake up and then you realize, oh, it was a nightmare. Basically,
so child abuse is okay now.
No, I'm just saying what the scientists say.
So the child abuse is okay now. It's just a simulation.
No, I'm just saying the scientists say we're in a dream and we have to wake up from the dream. I was just wondering what is your opinion on that?
I feel like it's an escape from responsibility. It's like saying, yeah, who cares if there's child abuse? It's just a simulation, right? It's just a dream. So no one should care about anyone else ever again.
Hey, I hear you. I hear you. Can you just do me a favor and do the can you do the eyebrow trick again? Yeah, thank you, James. See you later.
All right, cheers. Okay, we've got Pixie Lou coming up next into the Extinction Zone. No, we've got Lee Boganico coming up next. Hello.
Hey, brother. Why is it that antinatalism is not enough?
It doesn't help animals or anybody else's child.
No, but I mean, like, in the process, why would you still encourage people to have babies? If you don't encourage them, then there'll be less suffering, right?
No, actually, there'd be more suffering. So for every human that exists, every extra additional human, it prevents millions of wild animals from suffering, and it gives us more ability to do a proper extinction, to do animal extinction first, to do scientific, making the world uninhabitable. So we need more humans, right? If humanity went extinct today, then there would be no way for us to help animals, right? The animals would just keep suffering forever.
Oh, I thought technology and AI will take care of that. I thought that's what you were thinking of.
Well, we only support human extinction or declining in population if we can definitely rely on AI and robots. So we can't do that yet. If that happens, then and we can replace humans with robots, then we'll say okay. If we're sure, if we're confident that there's no problems with it, there's no downside, no disadvantages, then we would get rid of humanity and just have AI and robots. But we can't do that yet. So that may never happen. It's possible that AI will never be good enough to do the job, in which case humanity would have to continue. So we do have to keep going for as long as it takes until there is a good reason to say that we don't need to.
I got you, but still, I would still preach antinatalism for myself, for my family, right? Because the world will still grow, right? The population will still grow. That's what they estimate, right?
I mean, yeah. Look, if you just want to think about yourself and you don't want to have a kid, then that's fine. But if you want to support extinction, then you shouldn't be advocating for antinatalism.
Yeah. Okay, brother. I'm gonna think about that. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And you should read about it on our website, proextinction.com, on the full FAQ page. The question 13 explains why we do not support antinatalism. Right? It doesn't help animals. It doesn't help anyone else's children. It doesn't help aliens. So it's literally the opposite of what we should do, right? Antinatalism is the worst type of extinction, right? It's voluntary, so it's never going to happen, and it doesn't help animals. Hello, how you doing?
Hello, I'm back, but this time I'll just ask some questions I'm interested in you answering, and I'd like, because you said with the strike system that I can also call you out back. Yeah. And it was a bit annoying because I wasn't able to finish my question last time, and you picked out the sentence I was using, but I still wasn't finished making my point. So I'd like to, it's a little bit of a long question, but I'd like you to listen until I finish the sentence, yeah?
Okay.
Okay. So the question is, you qualified suffering as a premonition for extinction. My question then is, how much suffering qualifies it for an individual? Like, would, of course, be stubbing my toe enough suffering to kill myself? I don't think so, but maybe you do?
So the thing is, you're not considering the risk of suffering, the potential for suffering. So because it's infinite, right? The chances, yeah, you might stub your toe, but there's also the potential for infinitely worse than that. So as long as life is alive and exists, it will be in infinite danger. It can be trapped in infinite suffering, a life of pure hell, the worst life ever lived, right?
Yes. So
that's always possible.
So the infinite suffering you're stating is that in the future, or for an individual, that they are possible to experience an infinite suffering, or that the oncoming, I don't know, million years, that there will be a case where everybody is infinite suffering. Okay, that I can accept that argument, but you could say the same for happiness and goodness, no? Because in the future there is also a possibility of there being an all good, or maybe a natural extinction where everybody dies without having to like actively proceed that. So when do you weigh the suffering against the happiness and the goodness in the world?
Yeah, so goodness and happiness has zero value when compared to safety from suffering. So we have to put 100% of resources into prevention of suffering. Otherwise, we're allowing victims to suffer so that others can have fun. And that's just not a system which makes any sense. So yeah, if we have to prevent all of the happiness, but it means that we prevent all of the suffering, then it's worth it.
So in your opinion, then well-being, health, happiness generally doesn't matter. You'd rather have a null state where there is no suffering, no happiness, than a case where even maybe there is more happiness than a little bit of suffering.
Right, but you're willing to risk it, right? So what if there's way more suffering than happiness? You don't care. You're just willing to risk it.
I am willing to not. I'm not saying I'm willing to risk it. I'm saying
you are.
I'm saying
You're saying, oh, we might have happiness in the future, and it's like, so
Wait,
you're willing to risk everything. You're willing to
off.
risk all of the suffering and even worse suffering just to have.
You cut me off, please. I'm not risking. I'm not saying I'm willing to risk the suffering. You're making the statement that there may be infinite suffering.
So when you said we shouldn't do total extinction,
again, please.
No, yeah, I am going to cut you off, right? Because this is how it works, right? You're being a little bit privileged, actually, right? Saying don't cut me off. So yeah, you were saying, oh, we shouldn't do total extinction because it prevents all of the future happiness, right? So yeah, you're saying by that logic, it doesn't matter how much harm happens, how many children and animals get abused, just doesn't matter. Just simply doesn't matter. We should take that chance. We should take the risk and allow the infinite risk and danger of suffering. That's the thing. When I say that there's infinite potential for suffering, it could go really way worse, right? So the entire universe could just be full of torture because you didn't want to do extinction, right? So you took that risk, and yeah, now everyone's getting tortured. So is it worth the risk? Is happiness worth the risk, right? Should we take away from 100% safety of all of those children and animals? Should we take away their safety, right? And instead of putting 100% of resources into extinction and safety, take it away and risk their safety so that others can have fun? No, absolutely not, right? But the thing is that most people just don't care if there's infinite suffering. Hello, how you doing?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, so you're making the claim that forceful total extinction is needed to stop all suffering. Would you be able to prove that?
Yeah, there's no other way to end all suffering.
How comes? What's the proof for that?
Yeah, because the thing is that you would actually need omniscience to provide 100% certainty of safety. And so unless you have that, there will always be infinite unknowns, infinite danger, infinite risk. Any system that you have can go infinitely wrong in infinite different ways unless you have omniscience, and you can say with certainty that there are no unknowns, there is no danger, and that you can actually guarantee safety for an individual. So without omniscience, there will always be infinite danger of suffering. You could get trapped in a life of pure hell for millions of years, potentially, right? So there's the risk and danger is as infinite as your imagination, as infinite as infinity itself, essentially. So the danger is infinite, and yeah, we have to deal with it, and extinction is the only way.
So you're presupposing an atheistic world, and you're presupposing that someone can't rule out possibilities without being omniscient. So these are assumptions, but first, the greater assumption that the initial assumption that you made is that there is no omniscience in this world. Like an
I
omniscient
never
being
said
doesn't
that.
exist.
I've never said that.
You said to rule out all suffering, there would need to be we would need to have omniscience, right? So there would need to be an omniscient being.
Yeah.
Okay, so then can you prove that there is no omniscient being?
Well, it doesn't matter, right? We would need omniscience if we're going to provide safety.
Why?
Because there's no other way to provide 100% certainty of safety without it.
What if you believe or have certainty of a god? Then that would negate your point.
Well, then you're a crazy person, right?
Why?
You belong in a mental asylum.
Why?
Because you believe in fairy tales, right? With no proof, no evidence.
Is that not what you're doing right now? Because the burden is on you to disprove that God exists.
No.
Like, you've brought that burden on you.
Are you serious? The burden is on me to disprove God exists. Well, no. Well, then I can just say the burden is on you to disprove the flying spaghetti monster doesn't exist.
No, that's out of context. I'm saying within the context of this discussion.
Oh, that's out of context. Yeah. So I have the burden of proof to prove Jesus exists, but if I say you should prove the flying spaghetti monster exists, that's out of context. These religious people, right? Their brains are effectively like 99% water and 1% beef. Okay, let's see who we've got next. We've got Lisa Waters. Hello, how you doing?
Hello.
Hello.
So I'm here not to like debate you, but rather ask you about this one idea of yours. What will you do to achieve this idea of yours? Like, are you just gonna like kill off people, or I'm just asking. I'm kind of like interested in your ideas. To be honest, I want to see like how will you achieve this idea?
So we're growing the movement with videos, and we have lots of people joining the movement every day from all around the world. So our ideas are getting more powerful. Our ability to communicate the message is getting better and better as well. But we're also reproducing in other ways. So doing activism to get new activists is kind of a type of reproduction, right? I'm an activist. I make a new activist by explaining it to them. And we can also do it in other ways with, for example, some people in our movement are donating sperm so that they can create new activists that way. Because extinctionism is genetically based. It depends on high levels of genetic rationality and empathy. So we can create new activists by reproducing, donating sperm. In the future, we will have reproduction programs where, who knows, we might have women lining up, getting impregnated, and then they go away and raise the baby. And then, anyone else that wants to help make a new extinction baby, they can come and...
I don't understand though, but you're trying to achieve total extinction. I don't understand.
Humans
I
are the
swear to God.
solution. Humans are the only way to do that, and especially extinction activists, right? So we have to keep reproducing. If extinctionists don't reproduce, then we'll just go extinct and leave the world to horny sadists, basically.
So like at the end of the day, like at the end of our goals, will we just like kill ourselves or something?
Potentially, but the thing is, so the plan is to grow the movement until we can run the entire world as a government. There's no other way to do a proper extinction. So then we start with animal extinction, researching how life develops, how to prevent it from developing, and then if we could do universe-wide extinction, and then eventually we do human extinction. But we can also do human extinction sooner if we can replace ourselves with robots, right? So unless we can do that, then humans should keep reproducing, keep going, because without humans, we won't be able to do animal extinction. So if we start allowing humanity to decline in population now, then we're taking a chance on the animals. We're risking their suffering. So we are the only ones that can help the animals. And if we start to decline, we're risking not being able to help all of those animals. So we can't allow human extinction until after we've helped those that can't help themselves.
Oh, okay, I see. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And think about it this way. To complete animal extinction on Earth, it could take hundreds or thousands of years. So how are we going to complete animal extinction if it takes 10,000 years without reproducing? You would have to. And again, another thing about antinatalism is that it literally encourages the intelligent people not to reproduce and says, yeah, just let the world keep being fueled by unintelligent people. So that's really bad. So antinatalism is a passive solution which takes away from the intelligence of the world, whereas extinctionism is about active solutions which adds and increases the intelligence of the world, right? We can't leave the world to just religious people, crazy people, and just ask them nicely not to reproduce, right? That doesn't help them, it doesn't help their kids, it doesn't help animals. So extinction has to be forceful, and it has to be intelligent, and humanity is the only intelligent species that can help implement solutions. Hello. Hello. How you doing? Are you suffering? Potentially. It sounds like she may be breastfeeding or something. All right, we have Scar in the queue. Let's get them up. Bringing them on now. Hello, how you doing?
Hi. I just want to ask a question. By you mean forceful extinction, do you mean like stopping them from reproducing or something, or just like
Stopping them
killing
from
them
living.
off?
Yeah. So the thing is, if you give people the choice to continue living, then some of them will end up abusing others or suffering themselves, or they'll reproduce and cause more suffering. So yeah, again, if you even just forgetting about reproduction, if we make extinction optional, people will be too afraid, they won't agree to it, they'll want to keep living, and then some of them will be unlucky and suffer horrifically as a result. So the question is, do we care more about preventing them from suffering horrifically than giving them a chance to keep living? And the answer is yeah. Prevention of suffering is more important than allowing life to live.
Okay. Well, for me, okay, and this is a fact. If you look at it in a philosophical way and biological way, us humans are really designed to suffer.
But that
And
doesn't make it
that's-
okay. So do you think child abuse is okay?
Yeah, but I'm telling you, bro, because us
So do you
humans,
think child abuse is
we
good?
can. Yeah, us humans we
Really?
can be selfish.
Wow. So yeah, another person. Look, how many people, they literally just said, yeah, child abuse is good. So this is disgusting, right? This is the mentality of humanity right now, where they think suffering is good. And that woman literally just said, yeah, child abuse is good for you. And so when I say that people are saying these kinds of things, I'm not joking, right? Hello, how you doing? Hello. Hello. My tuba. Okay, sounds like some sort of Greek family wedding or something. That's what I'm imagining in my mind. Right, we have 1984 in the queue. Let's try and get them up. But yeah, the number of people that think that suffering is good is shocking. It's truly shocking. Especially when it's like extreme suffering. You know, I said, what about child abuse? She's like, yeah, it's all good. No, absolutely not. Look, even if there are some people that have gone on to have a good life after being abused as kids, what about all of those that don't? Like, you just don't care about them, or what? All right. I mean, and unfortunately, that is the situation. You know, how many people have said, "Oh, loads of kids go on to have good lives after being abused." So, in translation, who cares about those that suffer? Sherlock, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself, good sir?
Good, thank you.
I just had a few questions / comments on what you were saying with donating sperm and, you know, procreating the movement through means through that way.
Yeah.
That's a bit, I mean, I think that's a bit extreme in itself.
It's what?
don't you think it's a bit extreme in itself to,
Yeah, good. The
donate
more
to-
extreme the solution, the better, right? So if you're an activist listening to this right now, yeah, start thinking of extreme solutions because the problem is extreme.
Okay. I mean, it's understandable, but so why is that potential solution though? Like having to get to the point where if you can't convince the general public, then you have to resort to indoctrination of the youth.
No, so it's not indoctrination. It's genetic reproduction. So if it were just about indoctrination, then we would say, yeah, just go and adopt some kids. But we specifically advocate against adoption when it comes to extinction activists because reproducing with your genetics is more important. And yeah, it is a bit difficult to understand or to believe that extinctionism does rely on specific genetics, whereas most ideologies don't. So it is different in that sense. There is a learning curve to coming to even believe that, but it is true.
I can understand where you're coming from on that end. It's just that part that kind of gets me, where it's like, obviously, that will kind of cause suffering in itself. I know that you're practicing what you preach, right? Like, so you're trying to keep suffering to a minimum at this point, like doing what you can to
But look,
through
it's
activism.
impossible to cause more suffering than you prevent with extinction, right? If you're going to prevent billions of years of suffering, then it doesn't matter if you end up torturing everyone for 10,000 years. It's still better than the alternative.
I can understand that viewpoint as well. That's just my questions and concerns of it is like the extremes don't really meet. You're always going to have people who are like over religious. I mean, in this instance, that kind of comes down to an extreme as well, where if you have an extreme group, you're always going to have a resistance group. So how do you plan on dealing
there's going to be loads of obstacles, but we still have to try and do the right thing anyway.
Okay, I mean, fair enough. I just wanted to ask questions and concerns in that regard. So, well, I hope you have a good day, good sir.
All right, you too. I'll give you a follow back. Thank you, Sherlock. We'll give him a W guest because compared to most of them, he did pretty well. Hello, how you doing?
Hi, I want to ask you something.
Okay.
What's up with your haircut, man? You changed your haircut.
Yeah,
Looks
I know
very cute.
the barber did not do a good job, but I got stuck with it.
No, it looks very cute, man. I want to adopt you. You look like a cute baby.
We're against adoption.
Well, but then we can make an excuse. I want to adopt you, man.
Okay.
And rape you as well.
Right. Okay. Well,
Mm,
again, that guy has Islam in the name. Just point that out. And some people told me yesterday, James, you criticize Islam too much, which I never really do anyway. But yeah, that guy's advocating for rape and has Islam in his name. Just thought that's worth pointing out. Okay, let's see who we got next. We've got MyTuber coming back up. Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good. I just wanted to say, you're all about extinction and that. Have you ever tried just seeking help, like mental help? Because you sound like a very disturbed individual.
So what do you think I should tell them? Like, I don't want anyone to suffer, so please help me.
Well, I mean, you believe people should be masked on their lives. You got something wrong with you, like.
Well, no. The thing is it's because that's happening that we want extinction, right? If you're against death and killing, then extinction is your friend, right? Because that will
I
just
think
continue
you're
on
either
forever.
ill or you're just trying to make money. Which one is it?
So, do you think it's impossible that wanting the end of all suffering comes from a place of compassion?
No, bro, you're ill. There's
So
lots
that's
of good
strike
things
one.
about
That's
life
strike
too.
one. Let's see if you can answer that question. Let's give you a second chance. Do you think it's possible that wanting the end of all suffering comes from a place of compassion?
No, I don't believe it does, and I don't believe you want it
So
anyway.
why not?
Because Like, people have so much joy in lives. The fact that you get to exist out of all the other people who didn't get to exist.
And what does
You know what I mean?
what does being selfish and happy have to do with not wanting anyone to suffer?
We're not selfish. We just love our families and the people closest to us.
Yeah,
they've always
but
helped
again,
us.
but you don't care if anyone suffers, though, right?
We do, and we do try our best to make sure that people don't suffer. But unfortunately, you're not going to save everyone.
Do you eat
can't.
meat? Do you eat meat?
Well, yes, I do.
Yeah, so you obviously don't give a shit about suffering, right? You just don't give a shit. Obviously, right? Obviously. You can't say you're against suffering and say, yeah, I still exploit animals and, cruelly torture them, but yeah, I'm against suffering. Hello, how you doing?
Hello, Jamie.
Yeah, what's good?
I just wanted to let you know I have a picture of you, and I came on it.
I think he went in the wrong chat. I think he was thinking of a different James. All right, we've got Wed Zinger. Hello.
Yes, hello. I had some more questions. Well, in general, just do you consider yourself an utilitarian?
No.
No, okay. That was just a simple question. Why do you think billions of people who know suffering still choose to continue living?
Yeah, because they've been programmed by evolution to basically glorify survival and reproduction at any cost, even if it doesn't make sense.
So you're saying they aren't able to autonomically think of themselves.
Exactly. So that's what it means to be irrational. It means to be dominated by natural motivators which override your ability to think rationally.
Why should one person then, your ethical theory to reduce all suffering by killing everyone, override everyone else's desire to keep living, even if it's irrational?
Yeah, because it's not fair, right?
What is?
Well, because allowing life to suffer just so that others can have fun just doesn't make sense, right? It's not fair.
So you're saying because even if it's decreasing, obviously everybody wants less suffering in the world. That is obviously the goal. But you don't think that total extinction and the systematical extinction will not cause even more suffering than just trying to reduce the amount
it's
of
impossible.
suffering?
It's impossible to cause more suffering than it prevents.
How?
Well, for example, over 99% of life on the planet is animals being eaten alive. So putting them to sleep, it cannot possibly, that's going to take 60 seconds or something. How can that possibly cause more suffering, putting them to sleep, than preventing them being eaten alive for billions of years? It just doesn't make sense.
Because, for example, a lot of people have an only source of food being meat. So if you kill off animals, then you will increase starvation, then you will increase
So we make
poverty.
humanity go extinct as well, right?
Yeah, but you can't. So you want to do both at the same time, perfectly timed, so no one suffers.
No, so we should replace our dependence on animals while also removing the animals, so that we have no animals and we don't need the animals either.
So you think it is in general also possible to, for example, remove all bacteria, remove all nematodes, remove all almost the immortal jellyfishes, for example? How would you go about doing that?
Yeah, it wouldn't be too hard, to be honest. You just make the environment uninhabitable.
But even there are definitely a lot of animals that survive in even the most harshest of environments. How would you go about doing that?
With science, right? We have millions of years to have a go.
So you're saying that trying to cause extinction in a span of 1 million years will not cause any single suffering in your method?
No, I wouldn't say that, and I've never said that.
Okay, so your method will cause suffering.
Yeah.
So why is your own intrinsic morals more valuable than the other people that would rather live?
Well, but if you're going by that principle, then everybody is equally correct, right? But that doesn't make sense. By that logic, if someone wants to abuse a child, well, who is anybody else to tell them not to, right? So that's not good enough. If we go with anarchy, like you're suggesting, then everyone suffers horrifically. Children will be abused. We have to have an authority, an organization, a power system, a structure which is going to make good decisions and essentially, look after ethics and morality, right? And to try and do the right thing.
I'm not really arguing for anarchy, nor am I saying that everybody is equally correct. I'm just saying everybody's human autonomy is valuable. Why is your...
No. So that autonomy is not valuable, right? Freedom, choice, autonomy, these are bad things, right? All they end up doing is causing harm, right? You give people freedom, they go and rape children or abuse animals, right? So we cannot just glorify autonomy at the expense of victims.
So freedom, love, knowledge, beauty, achievement, and happiness all count for nothing?
Not gone for nothing, but gone and, making sure that nobody is suffering, which is...
No, counts for nothing, aren't valuable to you.
Yeah, basically.
And do you enjoy your life at certain aspects?
Sometimes.
Do you value that?
A little bit.
So why aren't other people allowed to value their own enjoyment?
Because I don't value my life enough to torture others, right? So that's what you're saying. Well, why can't people value their life enough to torture others? No, that's not okay. That's not okay, right? It's not okay. We cannot allow the system of, I get a good life, you get a bad life. We can't allow that to continue. It's not fair.
We don't allow it to, for example, continue. We've been progressing.
Really? So that society isn't majoritively exploiting animals right now?
I'm not saying that isn't happening. I'm saying that through history, we've tried to increase and stop, increase knowledge and technology and reduce as much suffering as possible.
Really? So when they created slavery in America, they were trying to reduce suffering. When they created factory farming, they were trying to reduce suffering. When they created the child porn industry on the internet, they were trying to reduce suffering. You're living in a fantasy, right? The whole world is just reducing suffering. It's perfect. It's a paradise.
No.
You're living in a fantasy, right? It's not. It's a torture chamber, and the victims are screaming in pain all around you, but they're just hidden out of sight so that you can ignore them and say, the world is great.
I mean, I agree that there is a lot of suffering, but throughout history...
You're out of here. All right, you're served. Look, it's just a disgusting mentality, right? Of, everything's fine. No, you're spitting on the faces of the sufferers. Hello, how you doing?
Hey, James, here's another question. Let's say tomorrow you could become like God of the universe or have godly powers. How would you do it differently? Would you go straight to total extinction or at least prevent or try to prevent suffering?
Yeah, well, there's two options essentially, heaven or extinction. So potentially heaven would be the correct thing to do. So I'd have to think about it, but like a lot of people are going to hate me for this, but I do get asked this a lot, right? If you could wish for either extinction or heaven and it would be perfect, nobody would complain at all, then it's hard to say I wouldn't go for extinction. Sorry, hard to say I wouldn't go for heaven. Yeah.
And the thing is, how would that look like then, according to you?
Well, we don't know, right? We can only say that it would have to have the, features of being perfect, right?
Wouldn't we be like in like a comatose state or something then, or like a plant?
Look, there's no way of trying to predict what heaven would look like, basically. So, would I support life existing in heaven? If there's going to be no downsides and there's no suffering, no bad times, then yeah, why not?
Okay, thank you for sharing.
All right.
See you later, James.
But yeah, like if you were given two buttons, right, and someone said, look, this one causes total extinction and this one sends everybody to heaven, then you should absolutely click extinction, right? Because unless you're certain that heaven's going to work, then you should go with extinction. And that's the whole point of extinctionism, is that life should never be allowed to exist without certainty of safety. So I would need 100% certainty that heaven was going to be 100% safe. You know, if there's any doubt or anything, then you should go with extinction, right? Even if someone promises you that heaven will be safe, you shouldn't believe it. You should go with the genuine safe option of extinction, right? Okay, we have more people in the queue. Let's get some more up. No, we're struggling with people. Struggling. All right, we might take a break here, guys. Oh no, we've got Ryan. Hello.
Yeah, why did you drop me?
Felt like it.
Well, what do you mean you felt like it? So you're not here to actually have like proper conversations.
Oh, I
Rather,
am.
you
I
want
am.
to push
But
your
just because I
agenda,
drop
and then
someone doesn't mean I'm
when
not.
someone questions you, you just want to drop them straight away, so you don't look bad in front of your viewers, right?
What's your question, Ryan?
Yeah. So you made the claim that without an omniscient mind, that would you can't get rid of suffering, right? So first of all, that's an assumption in and of itself. Right.
No,
but
it's
then
not.
you're also
It's not an assumption.
hold on. Let me finish, brother, because I don't want you to
Ryan,
that.
you know what? I think you need to start your own stream, right? And you can be really obnoxious on it. And, you know, you can hog the limelight on your own stream, right? Go and make your own show where you can preach the Bible and religion, God, to people that want to hear about it, right? This is an atheistic movement for people that care about ending all suffering. It's not a religious circus for people that want to excuse suffering. Okay. James, you have to let people finish. No, we don't have to let people finish, right? They will spam the chat, they will dominate, and they will shit verbal diarrhea into everyone's ears at length. Why should we allow that? There's no point. All of these people saying, oh, you should just let people on for as long as they want. No, if people want to just, you know, spam gibberish, they can make their own stream. All right, we have nobody in the queue right now, and we've been going for like a good 3 or 4 hours, so I think I'm going to take a break. Might be back on in a bit, maybe not. So yeah, we've got no one else in the queue right now. We'll see you all later.